Chapter 783, Shocking Changes in the Sect. Chapter 783, Shocking Changes in the Sect. Proofreader, Papatonks. Why? High Venerable squinted at Ren Xiaoyun, as the sect leader of Heaven Trailing Sect, the head of the Empire's 3 guardian sects. How could you side with this stubborn disciple and enter my sect to do this despicable thing? Ren Xiaoyun waved his hand in disdain. Oh no, High Venerable, you misunderstand. That stubborn disciple is a great sect leader. I only accepted sect leader's invitation to help him settle the chaos. What chaos? Elder Yuan soon realized as he watched the two's devious grins. I see. I was wondering how the Heaven Trailing Sect would dare meddle with the demon scheming sect unafraid of Double Dragon Manor. Heaven Trailing Sect, you two already have your excuse ready. Using settling the chaos to eliminate the opposition and put him on his seat. Grinning, Ren Xiaoyun nodded. High Venerable sure is wise, figuring out so fast. But you shouldn't say it. After all, we're righteous cultivators and labeling us like this would hurt our name. Humph, yeah, Heaven Trailing Sect is mighty righteous. Elder Yuan squinted and gnashed his teeth, turning to Xie Wuyue. You consorted with another sect to shame your ancestors and master. Do you really think you have any right to be a sect leader? Consorting? Didn't Zhuo Fan do the same by bringing outsiders to steal my power? Why did you still take his side and spit on me? Zhuo Fan brought his own men and did not take the sect. But you had Heaven Trailing Sect come here. Just what did you have to pay for this? Elder Yuan roared. Xie Wuyue clenched his fists but did not speak. Ren Xiaoyun smiled. I'll answer that. To help sect leader Xie regain his seat, my Heaven Trailing Sect would offer its support for the low price of 5,000 sacred stones. The mystical Heaven Sect didn't want anything, happy with just getting revenge by killing all that ruined his sect. What? Elder Yuan shook, looking at Xie Wuyue in disbelief. You actually gave half of the rewards of Double Dragon Gathering to an outsider and even brought our enemy to kill us? As they talked, there were shouts and battle cries coming from outside. Elder Yuan was furious. He knew the sect had a traitor working with the outsiders to lead to the ruin of the sect. It might never recover from this. Xie Wuyue fell silent, but then he spoke coldly. If the sect isn't mine, what use do I have for it? Why would I let anyone who won't obey me live? Why, you little? Pointing a shaking finger at Xie Wuyue, Elder Yuan went red from anger as he barked, You're just like Tianyu's emperor. Xie Wuyue, you were never worthy to be a sect leader. You're a traitor to the demon scheming sect and I will remove you in the name of our ancestors. Elder Yuan charged at Xie Wuyue, the power he released pushing Xie Wuyue back. He never thought that as a peak ethereal stage expert, he would be unable to resist High Venerable's pressure. But then Ren Xiaoyun laughed and blocked his palm. Ha ha ha, High Venerable, aren't you looking down on me by killing someone with me here? You do know we're here to help sect leader Xie settle the chaos. If the sect leader died, how could our excuse stand? You'd go and get Double Dragon Manor to fight us. Ha ha ha, that just won't do. Ren Xiaoyun, screw off, or today is your funeral. Elder Yuan roared. Ren Xiaoyun smiled. Yuan Xingong, you must be so full of yourself. As far as I know, you're nothing but a peak ethereal stage expert, while I'm in the second layer of soul harmony stage. You won't kill me even if you want to. The two's attacks clashed. Bam! A fierce sound echoed and Elder Yuan was pushed back 5 steps while Ren Xiaoyun 10 steps. How is this possible? Ren Xiaoyun looked at him in disbelief while crying out, You're in the soul harmony stage? What? Xie Wuyue was shocked and perplexed. No way, that's impossible. Master told me his constitution is lacking and won't go beyond the ethereal stage in his life. How can he be in the soul harmony stage? With a smile of disdain, earthen dragon scales appeared on Elder Yuan's hands. It was my blessing to meet Zhuo Fan, giving me a 10th grade pill, heaven-reaching pill to change my constitution and break through. My soul is also that of an earth dragon. Once uniting it with my body, I'll be as strong as the earth. I might be in the first layer, but to deal with a third layer isn't a problem. that goes double for the second layer. Curses! How could this happen? I underestimated you, demon scheming sect's high venerable. Ren Xiaoyun turned serious and unleashed all his power, no longer looking down on him. Xie Wuyue could hardly believe it as he asked, "Is that why you sided with Zhuo Fan, because he helped you?" "Humph, fool, I've always been impartial. You know that very well." Elder Yuan mocked him, "You only asked to come up with an excuse for Zhuo Fan taking the seat as a result of siding with him, making you feel that being the sect leader is justly. But I already told you, Xie Wuyue, you'll never amount to what Zhuo Fan is. He replaced you and brought back Dao. For trying to take back the sect leader position in betrayal, you had incurred heaven's wrath." Xie Wuyue's eyes were bloodshot from anger as he bellowed, "Enough! Why do you keep trusting an outsider but not your own disciple? You must die for this." "Humph, we'll just see who goes first." Elder Yuan shouted and shot for Xie Wuyue, but Ren Xiaoyun blocked him. Bang! Powerful shockwaves spread, making even the 9th grade array shake from how much power was unleashed. Elder Yuan and Ren Xiaoyun were tangled up for now, unable to make a winner clear so soon. Xie Wuyue looked from the side, feeling like not even sect leader Ren could keep him safe and wanted to slip away. But Elder Yuan shouted, "Impermanence 5, grab that degenerate disciple." "Yes, sir." Impermanence 5 shouted and released their vicissitude domain, trapping Xie Wuyue as countless green lights wrapped around him. Curses! Xie Wuyue hurriedly made a sign, calling for a flood dragon, his soul. It was not up to Earth Dragon Soul's standard, but it was still a top beast soul. The Impermanence 5 would have a hard time for a while. In this room, Elder Yuan and Impermanence 5 were fighting with Heaven Trailing sect leader and a traitor. Outside it, fires and chaos reigned as bodies piled up. Heaven Trailing sect was a middle 3 sect, with tons of experts, adding to that mystical Heaven sect hell-bent on revenge and Venerable Shur working behind the scenes. Venerable Bai's faction was caught unprepared. Under the sudden onslaught, they had no power to fight back, only dying one after the other, with a wail or a pleading for mercy. The best in the sect, High Venerable, was now caught up in a fight with Ren Xiaoyun. The second Venerable, Venerable Shur, was a traitor, joining their killing. Who could save them now? At the brink of despair, they could only breathe their lives in this hell. Curses, why is there an enemy attack? Why hasn't the sect array given a sign? What's going on? Why are there so many enemies? Save me! Help! What? Ugh! Wails reigned as sect leader Xian led the charge in a crazed assault. Kill them with joy, kill them good. Let them pay for ruining mystical Heaven's sect, for killing my son. I won't let any of them escape. Kill them to the last man, ha ha ha. Venerable Shur was silent at the side, just fiddling with his beard. The elders and venerables behind him sighed. They were from the inner sect and against the labor office, but they were from the same sect. Seeing their own people slaughtered filled them with pain. Sect leader Xian is enjoying his revenge, so why are you here to watch this hellish brutality? A cold voice reached Venerable Shur's ear. Moreover, the dead are all part of your sect. Even if you have differences, they're on the same side. Shouldn't you at least not want to see the disciple fall like this? Venerable Shur shook and looked back and shouted, "Why you?" Chapter 784, Heaven Trailing Sword. Chapter 784, Heaven Trailing Sword. Proofreader, Papatonks. Heaven Trailing Sword of the One Sword 5 Dragons. Appearing before Venerable Shur was a cold man in his 30s. He had sharp brows and shining eyes, with but a hint of white on his temples. He gulped. He might look young, but Venerable Shur knew that he was as strong as High Venerable, known as Heaven Trailing Sword, and even above the 5 dragons High Venerable was part of. He never thought that since this operation was a cinch with the two sides joining up, Heaven Trailing Sect would send such a powerhouse here as well to make sure everything run like clockwork. Venerable Shur hurriedly bowed. "Forgive me for not being there to welcome you, Senior. I did not expect Sect Leader Ren to show so much care in our cooperation to even have Senior here." Sect leader didn't ask me to come. I came by myself. Heaven Trailing Sword cut him off. Rare are those in the Western Lands 9 sect that can catch my eye. While your High Venerable is of a past generation, I still respect him. Ugh! Venerable shirt tensed and his face froze. What's that supposed to mean? Did he come to help the old coot? As long as he lives, the betrayal will be ruined. Sweating like a pig, Venerable Shur was filled with worry. The man mocked him, no need to fret. Since it's sect leader who leads the attack, the Heaven Trailing sect will join him as well. I of course won't disobey him. I only came to see him before he dies. He then showed a sad look and asked, by the way, I heard that sect leader came to fight him. Where is he? In the main hall's side room. Go a mile forward and then you'll find it on your side. Venerable Shur eased a breath and guided him. The man nodded and flew away, but not before saying his last piece. Oh, right, you still haven't answered my question. What are your thoughts on seeing your fellow people getting butchered? Well, Venerable Shur was lost for words. The man laughed and mocked. There used to be men in the demon scheming sect, but from now on, there won't be any more. The man was gone. Venerable Shur, who was that man? He's too cocky. One elder huffed, wanting to deal with him. He was clearly mocking us. He may be from Heaven Trailing sect but he's too arrogant. We're working together now, but not even sect leader Ren disregarded us. Everyone stands to gain from this. Shut your mouth. Venerable Shur glared at him and sighed. Even in the Heaven Trailing sect, that man is an absolute existence, only beneath sect leader. He's just like our High Venerable, if not more amazing. The man couldn't believe it. You mean? Yes, he's Heaven Trailing sect's High Venerable, Heaven Trailing Sword Xiao Yunshan. Venerable Shur sighed, thinking back to when Heaven Trailing sect was still a lower 3 sect. He alone rose the sect to be a middle 3 sect in the Double Dragon Gathering, solidifying the sect's position. That year, only he entered the Double Dragon Manor. He was a monster like Zhuo Fan is today. The elder gasped, I didn't think Heaven Trailing sect would send even him. It's too much. Our forces are more than enough. Why? Are you deaf? Didn't you hear he came by himself? Venerable Shur sighed, heroes respect heroes. He and High Venerable had been friends back then and now he came to send him off. The elder nodded and frowned, as long as he won't help him. Relax, Heaven Trailing Sword is most loyal to his sect. Since Heaven Trailing sect works with us, High Venerable is their enemy. The fact he came only assures of our success. Grinning evilly, Venerable Shur said, High Venerable is dead for sure. The others nodded, with only sect leader Shen ignoring them completely, focused as he was on dishing out pain and death. His eyes were crazed. Kill, ha ha ha. Ever since his son died, the old coot lost his marbles, ignoring even Heaven Trailing Sword. Venerable Shur pointed and the others sneered at the mad geezer. Meanwhile, in the room, powerful waves spread out constantly that shook the room. White one more explosion, the barrier was about to give. Elder Yuan and Ren Xiaoyun fought bitterly, with every punch and kick enough to rend space and destroy everything. Such power made the impermanence 5-foot vicissitude domain shake as well and hard to maintain. Xia Wuiyue was panicking at the side because he could see that sect leader Ren was slipping. If he did not leave now, he would die at Elder Yuan's hand. Elder Yuan actually entered the Soul Harmony stage and became such a powerhouse. Now that he fused with the Earth Dragon's soul, he was tough as nails. Not even Ren Xiaoyun in the second layer of Soul Harmony stage could cope. Xia Wuiyue's heart sank. The violent flood dragon soul clawed at the vicissitude domain to get out, but it was just too strong even for the sect leader. At this time, the worst happened. Bang! Elder Yuan flicked a dragon claw and slammed Ren Xiaoyun's fist away, then used this chance to land 3 heavy palms on his chest. With a groan, Ren Xiaoyun spat blood and flew backward. Sect leader Ren. Xia Wuiyue cried out in fear. I'm done for. Sect leader Ren lost. Now High Venerable will come for me. As Xie Weiyue lost his grip, Impermanence 5 used this chance to send green rays at him to seal him up. Even the flood dragon had to howl at being stuck. Xie Weiyue jerked and his heart sank in despair. He would soon die. Whoosh! Elder Yuan's palm struck with all his might for Ren Xiaoyun's head, to finish him for good. Ren Xiaoyun was startled and was about to dodge, but he was slow from the previous wound. He was feeling regret for coming here in person instead of sending a bunch of oldies after this old coot. Maybe he wanted to see the hidden dragon among the 5 dragons, demon scheming sect's high venerable. He was after all the only person respected by Heaven Trailing sect's Heaven Trailing sword. Now look what happened. This old coot was so tough that he entered Soul Harmony stage and now was about to kill him. He brought this on himself. He finally knew what it meant by curiosity killed the cat. Not that it helped him now. Seeing the palm coming closer and the death it promised, Ren Xiaoyun's heart sank, finding hard to swallow this outcome. Whoosh! However, they saw as a flashing sword wave came and Elder Yuan's palm did not get to touch a single hair on Ren Xiaoyun, forced to take it back and jump 10 feet away. He then noticed his dragon scale arms were dripping blood, the armor ruined. That was just one hit. Everyone was in shock at the turn of events. Then came a cold face that stood next to Ren Xiaoyun. Those dead eyes were devoid of joy or sadness, staring at Elder Yuan.
Chapter 785, Demon Without His Path. Chapter 785, Demon Without His Path. Proofreader, Papatonks. Yuan Xinggang, it's been a while. So you came as well, Xiao Yunshan. Elder Yuan and Xiao Yunshan stared at each other, like old friends that hadn't seen each other in ages, but it also felt like a meeting of strangers from how cold the reception was. Ren Xiaoyun was overjoyed. High Venerable, you came just in time. This old man is in the Soul Harmony stage and harder to fight than we thought. Soul Harmony stage is it? Xiao Yunshan rose an eyebrow. Yuan Xinggang, you surprise me again. With your aptitude, I thought that ethereal stage would be the end for you. It's truly amazing you reached Soul Harmony stage. You're a miracle worker. Elder Yuan shook his head. There's nothing miraculous about it, just perseverance. All I had was endless focus to reach my goals. Yeah, but even so, you've opened my eyes. Xiao Yunshan nodded. Elder Yuan shook his head and sighed, I fear this would be the last time. Have you come to kill me? No, I only heard of the sect plan and knew you would pass away and came to see you one last time. Xiao Yunshan looked at the pale Ren Xiaoyun then said, but by the looks of it, I'll have to intervene. Yuan Xinggang, we both know each other well. The vow we made in a fit of fury is still fresh in my mind. You should know my determination. Elder Yuan nodded, all that matters is the sect. Since High Venerable decided to take my life, as its High Venerable, you must carry it out. I understand and always have. Then words are unnecessary. Our 102nd fight will also be the last. Xiao Yunshan made a flourishing gesture as he said, let us put a final end to our friendship. Elder Yuan squinted and nodded, I shall show you what I gained these years. Ha ha ha, right back at you. You won't touch a single hair on me. We'll see. Elder Yuan unleashed his power, making earthly scales cover his entire body. He went all out from the start. Even Ren Xiaoyun found it hard to breathe. He was shocked by the power he had despite being a fresh soul harmony cultivator. This coot is strong. Xiao Yunshan's eyes shook, I knew you won't let me down. Then I should get to it as well and give you a proper parting. Xiao Yunshan showed his power as well, releasing bidding winds. He drew out 2 fingers and the sharpness his body had was enough to cut the world. Heaven Trailing Sword, the invincible. None could stand up to that sword. This was his power, as the best of the one sword 5 dragons. Elder Yuan's eyes shook and sighed. Heaven Trailing Sword indeed. He knew what would come next but his determination was firm. He shouted and charged. With a draconic roar, immense power exploded and ruining the room. Xiao Yunshan charged as well, meeting him halfway. Ugh! The two crossed each other then stopped. There was no boom and no sign anything happened, yet the outcome was already obvious. But the speed was too fast for any to see. Elder Yuan fell to one knee as blood seeped from his mouth, but his face was still the same, having known how it would end. Behind him, Xiao Yunshan stood there on his 2 feet, with a little blood on his fingers from Elder Yuan. Lost in the end. Elder Yuan's eyes grew hazy. You still won, just like every other fight we had. Xiao Yunshan remained silent, his face calm. Ren Xiaoyun was overjoyed. High Venerable was so powerful to defeat such a thorn so easily. He really was the heaven-trailing sword. Xia Wuyue was cackling, ha ha ha, you're finally done for, old man. Humph, with heaven-trailing sect helping me, none can touch me. Elder Yuan frowned and his weak body stood straight, his fist clenched. Xia Wuyue, even if I die today, I will take you down with me. Gnashing his teeth, Elder Yuan exploded with power as he shot for Xia Wuyue with a palm. Xia Wuyue panicked.
He was trapped by the Impermanence 5 and could not even defend himself. Ren Xiaoyun shouted, High Venerable, don't let him kill sect leader Xia or High Venerable will suffer. Elder Yuan was about to strike Xia Wuyue but then he spat blood as he slumped to the ground. Behind him, Xiao Yunshan's 2 fingers released a sharp glow with a cold face. High Venerable! Impermanence 5 cried out. Just then, a boom came and the vicissitude domain crumbled with the 5 elders blown away. Ren Xiaoyun laughed and flicked his fist covered in yuan qi as he sneered at them. He turned a smile to Xia Wuyue, Sect Leader Xia, you're alright? Thank you, Sect Leader Ren, I am. Cupping his hands, Xia Wuyue sighed then mocked Elder Yuan, High Venerable, sorry to disappoint, but you never got to kill me. From now on, Demon Scheming Sect is mine. No matter who it is that tries to fight me, he will die, even you. Xia Wuyue raised his hand and a black claw formed and was sent towards the defenseless Impermanence 5. Coughing blood, Impermanence 5 lost their lives, leaving only Elder Shi's last words, High Venerable, us brothers will go on ahead. Plop. Their bodies fell to the ground with a resounding sound. High Venerable heard it yet his face remained flat. He forced himself to sit, showing a happy smile, Xiao Yunshan, after not having seen for so long, allow me to tell you something. I have another disciple, a true genius. The day will come that he would surpass all other geniuses. I am a waste, but I have a true genius disciple. Smart, filial, reasonable and dignified. Elder Yuan's eyes grew moist, feeling he would not see his disciple again. But he did not get to finish as he turned to Xia Wuyue and gnashed his teeth in anger, Xia Wuyue, you're only a demon without his path. Demon Scheming Sect will one day be condemned under you. Shut it, geezer, Demon Scheming Sect is now a middle 3 sect, under my rule. Zhua Fan has nothing to do with it. He's nothing but a pawn of mine. Only I can take Demon Scheming Sect to the top. Why won't you believe me? Xia Wuyue was angry, shaking Elder Yuan's shoulders and shouting at him. But Elder Yuan could no longer hear as blood fell from his mouth, his eyes still smiling. Elder Yuan had passed away. Looking at Elder Yuan's body, Xiao Yunshan turned to Xiao Yunshan's crazed look and sighed, Yuan Xinggang, how sad you left nothing behind, ugh. He suddenly clutched his belly and spat blood. High Venerable, what's wrong? Ren Xiaoyun cried. Xiao Yunshan waved him off and looked at Elder Yuan with laughter, Yuan Xinggang, it's almost been 1,000 years and 101 fights, but this time, I had lost to you. I take it back. You're not useless, but a true genius in the Western lands, a genius worthy of entering Double Dragon Manor. Overcome with sadness, Xiao Yunshan sighed and left. Ren Xiaoyun saw Xia Wuyue was still lost in his insanity and figured the matter was done, ignoring him and going after High Venerable. Meanwhile, the slaughter outside went on, endlessly. Chapter 786, Master and Disciple. Chapter 786, Master and Disciple. Proofreader, Papatonks. In the middle of the night, a blaze reached the heavens. Coming out of the main hall, Xiao Yunshan observed the hellish scenery around, accompanied by an endless strings of wails and cries of agony. His heart sighed with disappointment. Ren Xiaoyun came from behind to stand next to him. He bowed. High Venerable, is it possible that you and Demon Scheming Sect's High Venerable were friends? Why would you care so much that he died? If you really were friends, why kill him? Ren Xiaoyun finished his thought, then frowned. We're not friends, but the opposite, bitter rivals. Rivals? Yes, rivals that have been fighting for 1,000 years. Xiao Yunshan sighed, looking at the sky as he recalled those times. When Heaven Trailing Sect and Demon Scheming Sect sent their disciples to compete, I was the best then and had defeated everyone. Even elites would quiver at the mere whisper of my name. In the arena, most of them would lose before they even struck. While I was filled with vigor and power, the Demon Scheming Sect's team was like a bunch of rats. But then he came. Demon Scheming Sect's High Venerable. But he was no venerable then, not even a normal disciple, just a laborer. Xiao Yunshan smiled. One laborer actually dared to challenge me. Like anyone else in my position, I looked down on him and mocked him. Only to find out at the end how much trouble he was. Not even 20 years passed and he came challenging me again. I asked him what a laborer was trying to do, while he answered that he would definitely revitalize his sect and keep surpassing his limits. I laughed in his face, saying that I was far beyond his limit and he will never reach me. But he was stubborn regardless, fighting me again and again. I first found him amusing, so I humored him since he was easy to beat. But then I felt threatened. This kid, this laborer of poor constitution, was gaining on me one step at a time. I did not accept it and lashed out, telling him he was useless, that he couldn't touch a hair on me. In the end, he still came to fight me. I sometimes wanted to kill him. He sensed it as well and urged me, in fact. As if by killing him I showed that I was scared of him. Ha ha ha, how was he worth it? But what came next proved I was indeed afraid he would overtake me. A laborer actually forced me to get serious about training, a genius like me, to reaffirm my position. Sounds like a really bad joke. But that's how it was. This is how we became bitter rivals over time. Xiao Yunshan gave a sad smile. Our fights soon evolved to being a comparison of our sections. Who will be the first to take their sect higher? He's been High Venerable of the Demon Scheming Sect for years and years, but our fights never stopped. I've gotten used to them over the years. Now that he's suddenly gone, I do feel a sense of loss and loneliness. Now there's no one to match my strength. Oh, I see. I didn't think Demon Scheming Sect's High Venerable would have such a story. Truly inspiring. Ren Xiaoyun nodded. Xiao Yunshan sighed. He was amazing, but failed in the end. For wealth and fame, he tore up his sect. Xie Wuyue, with all his skills, is nothing more than a common man that won't amount to anything. Yes, only with him as sect leader can we rest easy, ha ha ha, Ren Xiaoyun laughed. Xiao Yunshan nodded. As their adversary, the weaker they are the better. After this, Venerable Shi will have Xie Wuyue's weakness and will hardly be neutral. Middle 3 sect. Ha ha ha, it's way too soon for them. A shame for all the effort Yuan Xinggang put in. Is High Venerable regretful? No. Xiao Yunshan shook his head. I did not want him to die, but for the sect's good, I had to step in and do what needed to be done. He would have done the same. This was a kind of promise between us. He understood this the best. Ren Xiaoyun sighed. These two High Venerables were men among men, looking at the bigger picture and in impressive manner, becoming rivals. It would have been a touching story in times of peace, but when the sect's interests were involved, one of them would end up as a sacrifice. Demon Scheming Sect's High Venerable did not die, in fact, from Xiao Yunshan, but by Xie Wuyue, his own disciple. The old man said something about having another disciple. He spoke with pride about him. Who is he? I'm interested to meet him. Xiao Yunshan asked. Ren Xiaoyun shook his head, bowing. High Venerable, the disciple he's talking about must be Zhuo Fan, who took Double Dragon Gathering by storm. Only, you might not see him again. Why? I heard Xia Weiyue saying that the Universal Righteous Sect went after him. Fine, you don't have to say it. Xiao Yunshan sighed. Since men from the superior three sects came forward, he has no chance. What a shame, I really wanted to see his prized disciple. Xiao Yunshan vanished from his spot, leaving Ren Xiaoyun standing there. Meanwhile, deep in a forest, Gue Hu, Qi Changlong, Yue, Kue Lang and other disciples all fell limp on the ground and glaring at the person in front. Lu Xia, you poisoned us. Yep, how else would your Yuan Qi get sealed? Ha ha ha. Snickering, Lu Xia mocked them as two inner ethereal stage elders came along. Clenching his fists, Qi Changlong shouted, Lu Xia, why would you do this? You dare attack us? High Venerable will soon find out and there's no escape for you. Bai Lian threatened. The three laughed. High Venerable. They can hardly defend themselves and you expect them to save you. Don't you see the chaos and smoke coming from the mountain? Humph, the labor office is finished. What are you talking about? Gue Hu shouted. Lu Xia sneered, you'll soon be dead anyway, so I might as well explain. In fact, my master and I have planned in detail just for today. The tallest tree catches the most wind. Weren't you showing off with Zhuo Fan? At the Double Dragon Gathering, you've been looking good, but that meant you earned many enemies as well. I followed Master's instructions and made contact with all the ones that hated Zhuo Fan, all for today. I bet the Universal Righteous Sect must have already gone for Zhuo Fan. Heaven Trailing Sect and Mystical Heaven Sect worked with us to destroy the Labor Office, Zhuo Fan's factions, to avoid any mishap. Such a shame the Beast Taming Sect team at the Double Dragon Gathering was destroyed, or I bet I'd get them on board too. Well, not that it mattered, ha ha ha. You went to get other sects involved? Qi Changlong roared, Double Dragon Manor will interfere. Lu Xia waved his hand in derision, you think we didn't know about it? Since you guys came up with an excuse to attack Mystical Heaven Sect, why couldn't we as well? Humph, Zhuo Fan has only been a sect leader for just one day. Who'd recognize that? With Heaven Trailing Sect and Mystical Heaven Sect helping us stem the chaos in Demon Scheming Sect, Xia Weiyue would be back as sect leader, and that made you with Zhuo Fan as traitors. How's that for logic? We're in the right here, ha ha ha. They all gnashed their teeth in hatred. They knew as well that Double Dragon Manor would not interfere in a sect's inner conflict. Also, Master had set this plan for a long time, suffering in silence. He figured that Zhuo Fan and Xia Weiyue would at some point butt heads, just as expected. Well, isn't my master much more cunning than Zhuo Fan? Lu Xia raised a taunting eyebrow and raised his fist with Yuan Qi, Qi Changlong, I told you, the best disciple in the sect will be me in the end. With you finished, all problems are solved. Bang! He didn't get to finish as 3 rays of red erupted. Lu Xia shook and looked down at the huge hole in his chest. Looking around, he saw the elders looking the same. Only then he noticed a familiar figure. Why you? Grand Elder, why? Lu Xia, you talk too much, or I'd have struck faster. Haha, still green in the end. Grand Elder smirked and made a sign. A falcon 100 meters big came out and struck the 2 bodies on the ground, ripping their souls apart. Next, the falcon grabbed the weakened Lu Xia, and he cried, wait, aren't you part of the inner sect? Why? Yes, but, Grand Elder's eyes flashed and roared, I'm Gue Hu's master first and foremost. Chapter 787, Hounded. Chapter 787, Hounded. Proofreader, Papatonks. Shriek. With a sharp cry, the falcon swooped in on Lu Xia. He got so scared he wanted to run right away, but that was impossible with his wounded body. To fight back was an even worse decision with his meager power. So he resorted to begging. Wait, Grand Elder, I know Gue who is your disciple and never planned on harming him. You take me for a 3-year-old? Grand Elder mocked. Gue who has a good body, and for you to become the best in the sect, you'll have to go through him. I know perfectly well how Venerable Shi and the inner sect operates. And besides, you might not harm Gue who because of me, but what of Xie Wuyue? Humph, I know his nasty temper the most. He will leave nothing to chance, spare no one. With Gue who being part of labor office, he won't be left alive. It's safer if I just take him away. Grand Elder's eyes flashed, he made a sign and the falcon's talons took on a sharp glint. It passed through Lu Xie's body and came out holding a green spider in its claws. Grand Elder, don't. Please, let me go, Lu Xie cried out in panic. He finished his pleading with a mournful cry, the spider torn apart in the falcon's claws. Lu Xie's eyes became empty and he plopped on the ground. Grand Elder sneered, didn't I tell you? Don't take me for a 3-year-old. Was I supposed to let you live so you can come back for revenge? Humph. Grand Elder hastened over to Gue Hu and showed a vial. He took out recovery pills and shared them with the disciples. This is the antidote, take it and you'll be fine. Grand Elder spoke calmly. None hesitated and ate it. In 15 minutes, they all could move again. Qi Changlong asked, Grand Elder, what's going on? Lu Xie said High Venerable wanted us here for special training but then poisoned us as we heard people dying behind us. Did they really ask outsiders to bring enemies here? What about High Venerable? All he said was true. Grand Elder sighed, Venerable Shi planned ahead, and even brought Heaven Trailing Sect's expert. I fear not even High Venerable can hold on. Qi Changlong frowned and clenched his fists in hatred, I never thought that Venerable Shi would sell the sect for power. And that Xie Wuyue, he was the previous sect leader. He's so vile to join as well. This is called lust for power. If Xie Wuyue hadn't joined, Venerable Shi would have never do this, Grand Elder sighed. Bai Lian muttered, Grand Elder, aren't you with them? Since you did this for Gue Hu, why then didn't you notify High Venerable beforehand? Bai Lian, are you saying Master sold out his sect? Gue Hu glared at her, Master just saved our lives. Bai Lian only stared at Grand Elder, wanting an explanation. Grand Elder looked hurt, nodding, yes, I am an inner sect elder, with Venerable Shi. But we have different goals. Venerable Shi wants power in the sect and I want more resources to train my disciple. In any inner conflicts I stood by his side, but this time he sold out the sect and I could no longer do this. However, Venerable Shi was very cautious. When dealing with the two sects to attack us, he not once mentioned anything to any of us in the inner sect. All was done by him and Lu Xie. When we found out, it was already too late. I figured that when Xie Wuyue regained his seat, he will call all those that stood with Zhuofan. Gue Hu might not escape, so I turned on them. You can believe what you want, but all I've done is for my disciple. Master. Gue Hu was touched to tears. The others nodded, believing him for now. That was because they did not find any other reason why he'd save them. He only did it to save Gue Hu, and that meant saving them as well, his friends. The more people, the more they could correlate and the more the chances of Gue Hu to live. This meant saving him and saving them. Come with me, I'll sneak you out of the sect. We're on the same team now. To survive Xie Wuyue's pursuit, we must work together. Grand Elder coughed and his face grew hard. Qi Changlong flicked his sleeve, his eyes filled with fire, no, my grandfather and the others. Your own life is at stake and you have time to worry about others. Grand Elder cut him off with a yell, Heaven Trailing Sect and Mystical Heaven Sect have the place surrounded. But your grandfathers aren't weak either. Maybe they can get out. But if you go back now, they will have to look after you and you'll drag them down. I think that saving yourselves is the best way for you to help them. Qi Changlong's mouth shook and his shoulders slumped powerlessly. Bai Lian understood his feelings and lowered her head. The rest bit their lip, feeling hatred at being powerless. Grand Elder said, "If you got that settled, let's go. Let's go even if you're unconvinced. Staying here won't help anyone." Grand Elder took the lead, putting the roaring fire behind him. Grand Elder was right, all they could do with their meager strength was to bury their hatred deep within. They would cull these traitorous spawns in the future. Meanwhile, 10 miles off Demon's scheming sect, in a dark corner of a forest, the three fiends panted after their run. Seeing no one was behind them, they stopped to catch their breath. Curses, just how in the hell did the sect fall so fast? Fiend Yang looked at the others in disbelief. They shook their heads. Fiend Yang frowned, looking behind him in pain, after living there for centuries, to see it gone like that. Shit, who did this? The 9 sects of Western lands? I'm going straight to Double Dragon Manor. This revenge I must have. Fiend Yang, something's wrong about this. Fiendine said, unless there's an involvement outside of Western lands, there's no way they would not listen to Double Dragon Manor's rules. Fiend Yang shouted, you mean this was done by someone from other lands? Bullshit. A shout came followed by a palm attack on his back. Startled, Fiend Yang struck back, enemy attack. Bam! The two palm met and Fiend Yang's fat body stood in his pot while the attacker was flung back and spat blood. Isn't he weak? Startled, Fiend Yang blinked his eyes wide and laughed, sending someone so weak after us? They must want us to take revenge and kill them, I see. If I wasn't hurt, a fatty like you wouldn't have survived my palm. The man's white hair was in disarray, covering his face yet easily recognized through his voice. The fiends was startled. They cried, Venerable Bai, why did you ambush me? Did you bring enemies over? Now you want to kill me? Stop playing the victim when you already know who did this. Venerable Bai roared and gnashed his teeth at them. The trio was perplexed. Venerable Bai mocked, a bunch of fakers, all of you. You and him have been pals for so long yet you don't know his plan. If I had known, I'd killed him when we had the chance and pushed Steward Zhua up. Venerable Bai was filled with regret. Who the hell are you talking about? He's talking about me, Demon Scheming Sect's true sect leader. A cold voice came as Xia Wuyue led a dozen ethereal stage experts over. Chapter 788, Break All Ties. Chapter 788, Break All Ties. Proofreader, Papatonks. Looking at Venerable Bai's furious glare with a cold eye, Xia Wuyue mocked, "Oh Bai, you sure are something to run so far. Men, slaughter him." Yes. The guys behind him bowed and cupped their hands. The fiends hurriedly intervened, wait, just what is going on? Wuyue, why are you trying to kill Venerable Bai? The sect is under attack. Shouldn't we first deal with the enemy and then talk this out? Deal with the enemy? Venerable Bai disdained, Fatty Yang, I thought you were with him, appearing here to stop me. That's why I attacked. I never thought you'd be so stupid. Ha ha ha, what enemy attack? There are only traitors. Fiend Yang shook and looked in shock, what, traitors? Venerable Bai smirked, looking only at Xia Wuyue with disgust. Xia Wuyue was filled with bloodlust, Oh Bai, I am the true sect leader of Demon Scheming Sect. You wanted to take my seat, you are the real traitors. Rotten scum, someone like you who brings an outside sect to kill your sect disciples and hunt down the stragglers is not fit to be a sect leader. I only requested sect leader Ren and sect leader Xian's help to pacify the chaos. You forced me to do this. Xia Wuyue squinted, where have I gone wrong? Why must you choose a kid only 5 years in the sect over me? You even changed the rules for him. Humph, your cruelty knows no bounds. You only know fear and never to be benevolent. The sect has been weak with you at the helm. You're not worthy of that seat. Demons like you have the gall to talk about kindness? We're a demonic sect. How am I to get you to fall in line if not by being a bit harsh? What about the sect rules? Hi, Xia Wuyue, this is where you lack. Zhua Fan is also stubborn, but he does it so everyone accept his decisions. You only know how to bluster and threaten. An aimless demon like you has no future. Xia Wuyue's face twitched and clenched his fists. What path, what Dao? You're just like that old geezer. Ha ha ha, in the end, I only took another method to take back my seat, pushing Zhuo Fan off it. Ha ha ha, in the end, it's just a way to make me step down and get Zhuo Fan on top. Ha ha ha, unfortunately, you'll never get the change. The final victory is me. Die! Xia Wuyue charged at the weakened Venerable Bai, clawing at his chest. Under the savage attack, Venerable Bai's beard fluttered, but he glared in hatred at Xia Wuyue with the same mocking smile. As if to say, you were never worth being a sect leader. Xia Wuyue grew outraged and put more power in his attack, wanting to take his heart. Hold on a minute. The shout was coming from Fiend Yang, who stood between them. Ugh! Startled, Xia Wuyue halted, glaring coldly at him. Stand down. Wuyue, is this true? Fiend Yang did not wait for his response. Did you bring other sects to kill your fellow people, just to steal a seat? It's not stealing a seat when it's mine to begin with. Bam! Xia Wuyue did not finish as a punch sent him 10 meters backward, blood leaking from his mouth. Fiend Yang's fist shook, but what was more overwhelmed was his heart. Is this what you meant by doing everything for the sect, to take it higher? Fiend Yang roared with a shaky voice. Wiping his mouth, Xia Wuyue glared, since I worked for it, I have to be compensated. It makes no sense that I'd be kicked away after we became a middle three sect and let some ungrateful bastard take over. Fatty Yang, step down. Or I'll put you down. Xia Wuyue stomped forward with a cold face, the fierce bloodlust coming from him was heavy. Fatty Yang, you were never my match. Fiend Yang raised an eyebrow and faltered, but he steeled himself and shouted, I am a demon-scheming sect venerable and I won't stand and watch as my fellow sect member gets killed. Fine, then, step down. This is sect leader's order. I want to take down this traitor. Bullshit, you're no sect leader, not after you brought enemies and killed your fellow sect members. Fiend Yang shouted as he exploded in power. Xia Wuyue shook and roared, even you betray me. Xia Wuyue charged. Fiend Yang's heart shook, but he gritted his teeth and made a sign. A yellow fireball appeared and smashed for Xia Wuyue. Meteor. Humph, just an earthen soul. It's truly a fit for a fatty, all empty inside and useless. Xia Wuyue mocked. With a draconic roar, a black flood dragon came out from Xia Wuyue. It flicked its tail and struck the fireball. When the fireball faded and returned to Fiend Yang, he shook and spat blood. Being hurt so easily it showed the gap between them. Die, fatty. Xia Wuyue clawed at his chest with all his bloodlust, flood dragon claw. The other two fiends cried out, never imagining Xia Wuyue would be so ruthless as to kill Fiend Yang, his friend for centuries. But not even they could stop Xia Wuyue. They unleashed their souls to block, but the flood dragon's tail whipped them away and sending them coughing blood. SSS. Its sharp claws came like lightning on Fiend Yang. Xia Wuyue grinned cruelly. Fiend Yang sighed and shook his head with closed eyes. I have been overconfident when I never managed to beat you once. If I knew it would come to this, I would have never saved you. Oh well, Bai was right, seizing your power was better than letting the sect fall like this. Ugh! Xia Wuyue's claw halted before his chest. Xia Wuyue remained like this, then took back his attack and simply kicked Fiend Yang. Ack! With a wail, Fiend Yang was sent a dozen meters away and forced to spit blood, with teeth in it. And my tooth! Fiend Yang's mouth shook and shrieked, damn you Xia Wuyue, kill me if you want to but don't torture me like this. At least on account of me saving you back then. Fatty Yang! The shout startled Fiend Yang. He looked up to see Xia Wuyue's cold face. Xia Wuyue turned to the other fiends and sighed, and you too, I'll let you off today, but the next time I see you, all ties are broken. Then I'll treat you like the traitors you are, sparing none. Xia Wuiyue flicked his sleeve and ripped it off to prove his decision. He turned around and led his men away. Only the three of them shook and looked at the sleeve on the ground with a sigh. From now on, they and Xia Wuiyue were no longer brothers. Venerable Bai took a deep breath and made a heavy bow. "Forgive me, Venerables, I misunderstood you. We're on the same side." The trio shared a bitter smile. "Yeah, we're no longer with Xia Wuiyue from here on out." They took the wounded Venerable Bai and sped away, not wanting any more pursuits. Xia Wuiyue said that he would kill them if he met them again. So the farther they went the better. At the same time, other survivors were frantically fleeing for their lives from Xia Wuiyue's men. Chapter 789, Support. Chapter 789, Support. Proofreader, Papatonks. Grandfather. In the Black Forest, the fiends were helping Venerable Bai run away under the pale moonlight. Suddenly, a cry got them all to stop and look to see Bai Lian coming over with others. Venerable Bai was relieved to see his granddaughter. "Lianer, thank God you escaped." "Oh, Bai, we just met with these kids. How are you together?" Venerable Qi came out of nowhere and looked at the fiends. Understanding his wariness, Venerable Bai explained what happened, making him let go of all suspicion and treat the fiends as fellow people in need. They all talked about what they knew and sighed at the whole story. "I never knew Venerable Shi was such a schemer after Steward Zhua. We're just too careless." Because the inner sect calmed down, we thought they gave up, but they had us in the end. Venerable Qi growled in anger. Venerable Bai frowned. High Venerable and sect leader Zhua might be dead by now. Stragglers like us are barely numbering 50. Now that we have Xia Wuiyue hunting us, where are we to go? In any case, Western Land's territories had already been fixed. No matter where we go, we'll either be hunted or cast out. We have no choice but to flee Western Lands and think of another place. Grand Elder shook his head. "You think it's that easy? Thousands upon thousands of miles around us belong to the Empire's 3 guardian sects. Our only way is to go through Tianyu and then Chuanrong. But there's the beast-taming sect there and the Empire's 3 guardian sects in Tianyu." "Tianyu?" Yuer lit up and shouted, "Isn't Master's clan Tianyu's #1? When we attacked Mystical Heaven's sect, we fought side by side. Now that we're in danger, they have to help us." "Well..." Grand Elder frowned and hesitated. "Forget it, mortal clans are cold. They might look after us if sect leader Zhua had been around, but with him gone, they would never accept us. Maybe they would sell us out the minute we meet, handing us over to Xia Wuiyue." "No way. I've met their clan head and he's a very upright and loyal man." "Ha ha ha, girl, you're too young. How can there be a loyal man in the world? Everyone only looks after themselves. Moreover, sect leader Zhua is a demonic cultivator. With his shrewdness, his clan must be devious as well. Why would they get on the Empire's 3 guardian sects' bad side just for a bunch of stragglers?" Grand Elder shook his head. "The way I see it, we're better off not entrusting our fate to others." The others nodded as well. Only Yuer pouted and grumbled. She had been in dire straits with them and saw Luo Yunhai to be trustworthy. Venerable Bai's eyes lit up. "Maybe we should give Tianyu a try." "Eh?" The others turned to him. Venerable Qi frowned. "Tianyu is part of the 3 sects' territory. It's too dangerous with so many ears about. It's because of that it's safe." Grinning, Venerable Bai was sure of it. "Think about it. Xia Wuiyue would never think we'd lay low under his nose, right in Tianyu. He'll be sending his men anywhere else. So as long as we're fast enough, we'll be out of it before they find this out and escape danger." Startled, the others gave a thumbs up. And so, the group planned on using Tianyu's vast area to leave Western Lands for a new place to live. 3 months later, in a thick forest, gasps were heard as dozens of men passed through. In this time, the group had split up to lure their pursuers away, then take the long way around to Tianyu and escape. "Are we all here?" Venerable Bai shouted. They all nodded. Venerable Bai, everyone is accounted for. Then let's pass through Tianyu and reach Chuanrong soon. Venerable Bai nodded and took the lead. They had yet to go far before a cackle reached their ears. A bunch of oldies think they can live after what they did in Mystical Heaven sect? Whoosh! Figures had the group surrounded as 100 experts in the ethereal stage showed their power. The group was mixed, and Venerable Bai saw among them people from Heaven Trailing sect, and a few from Mystical Heaven sect and Demon Scheming sect. Curses! There's so many of them. If it were just Mystical Heaven sect and Demon Scheming sect, we might have fought our way out of this mess, but there's Heaven Trailing sect as well. There was no way these few men could handle so many experts. Venerable Bai frowned and gnashed his teeth. Ha ha ha, Venerable Bai, you've been in the Demon Scheming sect for a while and should know Venerable Shi's cunning. You think he couldn't figure out your plan? The safest place is the most dangerous, ha ha ha. You sure worked hard to run us around in circles, but too bad none of us fell for it. An elder in black came out and mocked. Venerable Bai knew he was an inner elder and was filled with regret. They had been going around all these days only to end up playing in their hands. Venerable Bai looked at Venerable Qi, who said, "Oh, Bai, let's fight to the last." Fight? You can't do anything as you are. Grinning, the elder in black sneered, ever since you decided on Tianyu, everything else was but a string of mistakes that settled your fate. They were outraged but helpless. This decision had indeed led them to a dead end, from which none could escape. But then a voice filled with disdain came from the forest. A mistake? Ha ha ha, that's what you've done. Coming to Tianyu was the right choice. What? The elder in black shook and looked around. Who's there? There's support. A couple dozen people, ethereal stage experts, with 5 being above the 5th layer, showed up. Yuer cried in joy, "Elderly, is it really you?" Snickering, Li Jingtian laughed, "We came to help you, now attack together." Sure. Venerable Bai was excited, never imagining their ally would come to help in this dire time of need. The Luo clan was a godsend. Venerable Bai's group unleashed their power and charged while Li Jingtian's side attacked from the outside. In a blink of an eye, the hunter became the hunted, thrown into chaos. The Black Elder cried out, "Who are you to stop Tianyu's 3 guardian sects?" Ha ha ha, I don't know much about 3 sects, just that you're blocking our guests. Elderly laughed and slapped. The man replied with a palm attack. Bam! Li Jingtian was both powerful and ferocious, making the Demon Scheming sect elder spew blood and fall back. The others were unsettled at this event. With the Luo clan's 5 experts in the lead, they were charging like a relentless force. The pursuers of Venerable Bai had no chance whatsoever. They might be 100, but the Luo clan and Venerable Bai joining forces only numbered around 60 while having a different level of quality, not lacking in power at all. No matter how many they were, when morale fell, they would only retreat. Finally, the pursuers were now caught in the middle, having lost their savagery, forced to scurry around and flee. Even as they did so, they could not understand why they were routed despite having more people. On a far peak, a man and a woman stood, Luo clan's Shadow Corps leader, Lei Yuding, and commander of Luo clan's forces, Yu Ming. Seeing the fight was settled, Lei Yuding nodded, "It's just like you said. The elders were enough to defeat them all. In a meeting of rivals, the ferocious one has the upper hand." Yu Ming's eyes flashed. Sometimes, a fight can be as brief as a thought, to fight or not to fight. This is enough to settle it. The elders had struck hard from the start, winning with merely 20 people. All right, our rescue mission is over. Now it's up to Leng Wuchang's plan. Yu Ming left and Lei Yuding watched him go with a smile before following. Not far, in a city, Leng Wuchang and Luo Yunhai were enjoying a wee cup of tea. Chapter 790, The 3 Sages Act. Chapter 790, The 3 Sages Act. Proofreader, Papatonks. Clan head, you don't look the least bit nervous. Sitting refined in the lounge, Ling Wuchang sipped on his tea while giving Luo Yunhai a smile. Luo Yunhai was unfazed, with Sir Ling so certain in his plan, then all must be assured. How would worry help at this point? Ha ha ha, clan head, you hold me in such high regard and trust. Touched, Ling Wuchang smiled. Over the years, Luo Yunhai had shown complete trust in his aides, making these old coots feel their efforts being rewarded and being loyal in return. Luo Yunhai did not speak, only smiled. Later, footsteps were heard as Li Jingtian's booming voice echoed, "Clan head, we have brought them. Show them in." Luo Yunhai stood up and shouted in joy. Ling Wuchang smiled and stood as well. The door was opened and Li Jingtian led Venerable Bai's group to sit in the lounge. Seeing Luo Yunhai, they all showed their thanks. "Thank you, Luo clan head, for the timely rescue. Please don't mind it, take a seat." Luo Yunhai glossed over, the Luo clan had been brought up by Brother Zhuo alone. As you are his trusted aides, then we are all on the same side. Finding out that you're in peril, it's only my duty to come help. We have fought shoulder to shoulder after all, ha ha ha. Luo Yunhai's bright laughter entered their ears and made them lower their heads. They were still doubtful the Luo clan was to be trusted, yet the clan head himself proved that loyalty hadn't yet died in the world. Just because of their connection with Zhuofan, the clan head risked his men to save them. This action of the Luo clan had painted a target on them, becoming an enemy of the three sections. They all felt ashamed, with Venerable Bai taking a step forward and making a deep bow. "Luo clan head, we've dragged you into this. You could have stayed outside of the three sects' troubles, but now. Elder Bai, it's fine. Since someone wants to take out Brother Zhuo, we, the Luo clan, are already involved." Luo Yunhai's eyes flashed, his face hard. "When I became clan head, I vowed that Brother Zhuo's enemies are Luo clan's enemies. No matter who it is, or how many, the Luo clan will have Brother Zhuo's back all the way." Shaking, they all were impressed by Luo Yunhai's valor. Just what kind of friendship could he have to give everything for one man, even his whole clan? No wonder Steward Zhuo wanted to give up being sect leader. This man was worth following. Venerable Bai and the others admired him. Not even in their long years in the demon scheming sect had they seen such a worthy man to follow. The demon scheming sect only cared about self-interest, while the Luo clan was a united group. Now they understood why Zhuofan was so eager to get back. Boom! Explosions came, followed by the world shaking around them, with the lounge about to collapse. The men panicked and Luo Yunhai frowned. He turned to Ling Wuchang with a questioning look. Ling Wuchang smiled, "Ha ha ha, easy now. They're but the pursuers attacking the defensive array." Pursuers? Those 100 ethereal stage experts? Startled, Venerable Qi cried, "That's bad. An average array can't hold back so many ethereal stage experts." The others grew tense and were ready to fight at any moment. Ling Wuchang and Luo Yunhai shared a look and laughed, "It's fine. I already surmised you'd want to escape Western lands through Tianyu. That's why 3 months earlier I had men set up 18 arrays all above 7th grade. Also, they all use sacred stones. And since the elders are overlooking it, those 100 thugs can't put a dent in it." Thugs? Them? Shocked, they all were flabbergasted. Who's he to call 100 ethereal stage experts thugs? Isn't he too cocky? He's only in the radiant stage too. Maybe he's like High Venerable, hiding his power behind lower cultivation. They then looked behind to see Li Jingtian gone. Sir, may I ask?" Venerable Bai bowed. Ling Wuchang cupped his hands, "I am Ling Wuchang of Tianyu." "What? Your unwanted contriver, one of the three sages." Venerable Bai and the others were stunned. "Sir's reputation precedes you." Ling Wuchang waved his hand, "Please, as a cultivator, I am nothing to you. But as a supervisor, with enough pawns in my hand, I can beat any one of you. Indeed, Sir's genius has long since been known. I never imagined you'd stay in the Luo clan. We're shocked." Venerable Bai and the others nodded. They knew that while Ling Wuchang wasn't much in terms of cultivation, but as a supervisor of the clan, he had countless people he could direct and multiply their effective power. In the cultivating world, especially in the Western lands, there were hardly many large-scale conflicts where his advantage could be used. But now, since they were hunted by 3 sects, they needed a sharp mind like Ling Wuchang more than anything. Understanding their intent, Ling Wuchang smiled. From the report Yu Ming sent, these people fled at the first sign of battle. No one can focus their power and thus shows they are headless. They look to be made up of ethereal stage experts, but as a whole they're nothing but thugs. The best way to deal with them is in 3 clashes. First is an all-out attack, second will be their crushed spirits, and third comes their feebleness. Afterward, they would scurry away. That's why you need to not worry. They'll soon be running back home. Sir Leng, the Yu Ming you're talking about, is he perhaps insidious demon Yugiki's disciple? Ling Wuchang nodded. You heard of him too. Yugiki wanted to join the demon scheming sect to get Hell Valley an ally, but his aptitude was poor and he was disregarded. But then he became one of Tianyu's 3 sages, earning his name. To gain fame with a shrewd mind is much harder. I never thought his disciple would be with the Luo clan. No wonder the Luo clan evolved so much with 2 sages. Venerable Bai admired and the others echoed him. Ling Wuchang and Luo Yunhai shared a smile. 15 minutes later, the booming stopped and Yu Ming came in with the elders. Ling Wuchang asked, "Is it over? Didn't I have you strike them as they fell back to push them further?" "No point." Yu Ming shrugged. "You wanted to exhaust them completely and buy time when calling for help for Zhuge, but I have convinced them to leave. They won't be back for a while." It all worked out the same. Ling Wuchang smiled, convinced. Yes. Their group consisted of 65 from Heaven Trailing Sect, 26 from Demon Scheming Sect and 11 from Mystical Heaven Sect. We held complete advantage over the fight and could finish them off without a problem, but that would ruin your plan, right? Ha ha ha. Yu Ming sat down, so I took it upon myself to kill the 26 from Demon Scheming Sect, heavily wound the 11 from Mystical Heaven Sect, and as for Heaven Trailing Sects, I told them I received news that we and Heaven Trailing Sect had made peace. I had them go back to their sect leader and ask him themselves. Ling Wuchang raised an eyebrow. News? Why haven't I heard of it? It should come at some point, or you wouldn't have let me fight with Heaven Trailing Sect's safety in mind. You trust him that much? As the previous Prime Minister of the Empire, foreign affairs were his strongest suit. Grinning, Yu Ming ignored the extra people around and dangled one leg over the other after taking his teacup. Ling Wuchang laughed. True, the old guy has that for him. Sir Leng, who are you talking about? Luo Yunhai was confused. Ling Wuchang's eyes flashed as he bowed. Clan head, that old guy Zhuge Changfeng had sent a message 2 months ago, saying that he'll return from visiting other nations. Steward Zhuge is coming back. Luo Yunhai cried. Ling Wuchang smiled. I have informed him of our situation and of my plan and proposed that he not return yet, but make a trip to Heaven Trailing Sect. Heaven Trailing Sect? The rest went bug-eyed. Venerable Bai was shocked. Ling Wuchang smiled. Yes, that sect. In fact, the Luo clan has a 3rd sage as well. With his silver tongue, your life should be guaranteed. Venerable Bai blinked in disbelief. I mean that with all 3 sages from Tianyu acting up, we'll turn your situation around and get the pursuit off you. Or if we had let clan head go ahead with the whole clan and be ruled by emotions, we'd never have agreed to save you so easily. Ling Wuchang shook his head. Chapter 791, Distant Allies, Close Enemies. Chapter 791, Distant Allies, Close Enemies. Proofreader, Papatonks. Tap, tap. In a dusky hall, 2 rows of faint candlelights burned gently. The only sound was the rhythmic steps of a single person. Sitting on the guest chair, an aged man was sipping on his tea as the footsteps came. He placed the cup down on the table and waited. The Grand Steward of the best clan in Tianyu, Zhuge Changfeng, ha ha ha. Following the bright laughter, a sturdy middle-aged man came out from the shadows and into the light, taking the seat of honor, Heaven Trailing sect leader Ren Xiaoyan. Yesterday Tianyu Empire's prime minister, and now Luo clan's first steward. The title might have changed but the power is no less than that of a prime minister. Zhuge Changfeng, what are you doing here instead of minding Tianyu's affairs? Zhuge Changfeng stood up and made a light bow. Sect leader Ren, Heaven Trailing sect is the head of the Tenaya's 3 guardian sects, and I am ashamed to say that in all my decades as prime minister and now steward of Luo clan, I have failed in paying my respects to your glorious sect. Secular clans and sects hardly ever meet. No apology needed. Ren Xiaoyan waved his hand. I wonder what brought on this visit from miles away. Zhuge Changfeng smiled and bowed again. I shall be frank, sect leader, I have come with a defined purpose in mind. I am before sect leader with a request. What is it? Ren Xiaoyan raised an eyebrow. Zhuge Changfeng's eyes flashed. I hope that sect leader Ren may be willing to go easy on the demon scheming sect traitors. Oh? Ren Xiaoyan stared hard into Zhuge Changfeng's tranquil gaze, then mocked, you're from Tianyu but nonetheless informed. You heard of Western lands and 9 sects' affairs quite fast. But why do you want to save them? Is it for your previous steward, Zhuo Fan? Ren Xiaoyan's tone dropped and became chilling. One word out of line and Zhuge Changfeng would find himself gone from this world. Zhuge Changfeng smiled still and nodded, in a way, but not fully. How so? Of course there's the respect and gratitude towards Steward Zhuo's former efforts. Even if strays, they were once under Steward Zhuo's wing and we have to lend a hand, lest we be taken as ingrates. Sir must know by now of our young clan head's personality, holding loyalty above all else. By not doing this now, it will harm his name. Squinting, Ren Xiaoyan sneered, so what you're telling me is that the Luo clan is helping the traitors for their reputation? Ren Xiaoyan's hand flicked and bloodthirst flickered in his eyes. Not entirely, since there's still respect for the previous steward Zhuo, even if not enough to warrant the destruction of the clan. That's why it's most out of reputation. The world is filled with people striving for fame, and our clan head is no exception. Zhuge Changfeng chuckled and sighed. Over the years, Tianyu has flourished and, in turn, filled the 3 sects' coffers, with the tribute growing yearly. Sect leader Ren is sure to know this. Why? All because of the Luo alliance, drawing in dozens of clans, big and small, from the nearby nations and empires. But why could the Luo alliance attract so many people? It is without a doubt our clan head's righteous and loyal nature that set their minds at ease. This is a reputation we have to protect and, most of all, make excessive use of it. Ren Xiaoyan's eyes shook and his hand stopped to ponder. Zhuge Changfeng grinned inside. He knew very well that the wrong word would have his blood paint these walls. Ren Xiaoyan was only testing him to check just how far the Luo clan would go for Zhuo Fan alone, just how much were the two tied up. If the Luo clan still cared for Zhuo Fan, or if they were outraged over Zhuo Fan's actions, Ren Xiaoyan would have killed Zhuge Changfeng then and there, following with the Luo clan. He had no intention of fostering a group of enemies. However, Zhuge Changfeng's answer was smooth, avoiding all pitfalls. If he had said there was no loyalty for Zhuo Fan left, then it would have been an outright lie. Zhuo Fan had been the Luo clan's previous steward that made the Luo clan what it was today. Yet the clan would just ignore all that. Ren Xiaoyan would have slapped him in the hereafter where he stood. Zhuge Changfeng was shrewder than most, saying there was some loyalty left, but not the main cause for the clan's decision. We're not disregarding Zhuo Fan's gratitude, just thinking of profits. Furthermore, we're using that bit of loyalty to earn even more by making use of our reputation. This was enough to get Ren Xiaoyan to relax. Since they held interests above their past relations, he put them getting revenge for Zhuo Fan at the back of his mind. They had nothing to gain by fighting Heaven Trailing sect anyway. As a man with an eye for profit himself, there was no way they would risk it all just for Zhuo Fan's hatred to be sated. That was what made this line so believable, it appealed to his own principles. While a Luo clan without an ounce of gratitude would have been worse, totally unreliable. He only wanted to see what the Luo clan cared about, happy to know now that it was Proft. Zhuge Changfeng was also sharp in pointing out Tianyu was doing so much better now. You guardian sects get almost double every year, all because of the Luo clan. Without us, you'd end up starving. This struck where it hurt the most and made him withdraw his impulse of slapping the Luo clan's envoy dead. So, your request to let the traitors go was all about keeping your loyal reputation? Ren Xiaoyan probed after a pause. I have promised sect leader Xia to cull any traitors. Zhuge Changfeng shook his head. Sect leader Ren, I would have never taken the risk if it was just merely out of reputation. We want to take them because we will fight the demon scheming sect. What? Ren Xiaoyan's eyes bugged out, his hand tightened with bloodthirst. A secular clan wants to fight a sect? What a joke. Ren Xiaoyan was enraged. His heart was once again beating frantically. Heaven Trailing Sect was in cahoots with the demon scheming sect right now. Fighting them was fighting Heaven Trailing Sect, no? The Luo clan still cares about getting revenge for Zhuofan. Zhuge Changfeng read him like a book, sighing dramatically. Sect leader Ren, that's not my meaning at all. We of course would want to live at peace with the three sects for thousands of years to come. But that doesn't mean the demon scheming sect wants to. I heard that the demon scheming sect leader Xia Weiyue has a nasty temper and is ruthless. He can kill Zhuofan all he wants, not like we can do anything. What I fear though, is that he'll drag innocent people into this. Because Zhuofan came from the Luo clan, he'll cull us all. We thus have no choice but gather anyone that can help and fight to the death. As Sir knows, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The demon scheming sect traitors don't hate you and Mystical Heaven sect the most, since they already attacked Mystical Heaven sect before. The two sects coming to attack was natural. They hate Xia Weiyue with a passion. So we must work together and resist the demon scheming sect. Oh, so that's how it is. Ren Xiaoyan eased a breath. Luo clan is using its power to defend itself, not target demon scheming sect specifically and our alliance. This made him relax. He did not notice that Zhuge Changfeng's wording made it so Venerable Bai's group hated only Xia Weiyue, keeping Heaven Trailing Sect out of it. This was how Ren Xiaoyan decided to let them be. When he joined Xia Weiyue in culling everyone, he feared retaliation. And since he had nothing against them to begin with, why push things so far? Besides, these men might become a weapon to keep demon scheming sect in check. Ren Xiaoyan thus made his decision, but he decided to play along for now, frowning. In the end, letting them go is up to the demon scheming sect. Heaven Trailing Sect can do it, but I can't say the same about demon scheming sect. Ha ha ha, sect leader Ren, who doesn't know that Heaven Trailing Sect is the leader in the Empire's 3 guardian sections? Would the other 2 sect go against your word? Zhuge Changfeng praised. I'll be frank here, demon scheming sect and mystical heaven sect are nothing more than dying dogs. Can they still be part of the guardian sects? Especially demon scheming sect, after that calamity, how many experts does it have? How can it protect Tianyu? Our clan had decided to cut 10% out of their tribute and give it to Heaven Trailing Sect. Shaken up, Ren Xiaoyan's heart burst with joy, but he didn't let it show. How can we? They have been through so much pain and doing this. Sect leader Ren, no need to be polite. Those capable always earn more. With the demon scheming sect's miserable state, it's not worth 20% of Tianyu's resources. Tianyu's safety would in the end depend on Heaven Trailing Sect. Zhuge Changfeng cupped his hands as he finished his speech. Ren Xiaoyan frowned in fake anger. Are you trying to turn the 3 sects on each other? Demon scheming sect is about to become a middle 3 sect. Sect leader Ren. Zhuge Changfeng cut him off with sneer. After such an event, regardless of power and fame, would it still be fit to be a middle 3 sect? Ren Xiaoyan jerked awake and then laughed before slapping his shoulder. Ha ha ha. Chapter 792, Revenge. Chapter 792, Revenge. Proofreader, Papatonks. That settles it, Sect Leader Ren. Will Sir want to look at this year's shares? Zhuge Changfeng made a bow and gave a smile that was easy to understand. Ren Xiaoyun nodded. The flourishing of Tianyu depends on your Luo clan. Don't worry, as the Empire's 3 guardian sects, no one will dare to stir chaos in Tianyu, not even from the 3 sections. Ha ha ha, thank you, Sect Leader Ren. With another deep bow, Zhuge Changfeng withdrew from the hall. Seeing him go, Ren Xiaoyun nodded, feeling pleased with himself. From now on, the demon scheming sect would cease to be a threat to him, while Tianyu's representative was now under Heaven Trailing sect. Tianyu's resources, even trades, all would be in Heaven Trailing sect's pocket. The other 2 sects? Humph, they dare think about my money when they're hanging by a thread? In all honesty, after all this chaos Zhua fans stirred up, the mystical Heaven sect ended up ruined while the demon scheming sect crippled. Only Heaven Trailing sect was the big winner here, taking all of Tianyu's income for himself. I've won big time in this, ha ha ha. Ren Xiaoyun was giddy on the inside, then shouted, "Guard!" Yes, sir. A man in black up and appeared in a bow. Ren Xiaoyun spoke, use ascending jade to tell the pursuers of the demon scheming sect remnants to come back. Also, use my name to warn the demon scheming sect and mystical heaven sect that they are forbidden from interfering inside Tianyu and disturbing it. Yes, sir. The man bowed again but paused. Ren Xiaoyun frowned, why are you still standing there? Sect leader, you've been talking with that man so far and I have yet to notify you. Actually, the pursuers of the demon scheming sect remnants have already returned. What? Who told them to come back so soon? I didn't even get to send them a message. Ren Xiaoyun raised an eyebrow. The man hesitated. Sect leader, from the elders recounting, they pursued the remnants at Tianyu's border when they met Luo clan's experts blocking them. They trapped the elders' team but then let them go, telling me to tell Sir that they have reached an agreement with sect leader. They were unclear and had not received Sir's message, but since they were let go, they came to confirm this. Sect leader. Stumped for a long time, Ren Xiaoyun came to and muttered, they said they had a deal with me. Even if that's true, it just took effect moments ago. Ren Xiaoyun turned to where Zhuge Changfeng was gone and sighed, they truly believed a mere old man's ramblings could persuade me. Truly cunning, the Luo clan has talents and it keeps growing. Sect leader. The man asked, do I send the message? Ren Xiaoyun gnashed his teeth, I hate how a secular clan toyed with me, but I have to admit, Zhuge Changfeng's words moved me. Send it. Let the 2 sects know Tianyu's head of power, Luo clan, is Heaven Trailing sect's representative. It has no ties with the demon scheming sect. Yes, sir. The man nodded and vanished, leaving Ren Xiaoyun with his muttering, Zhuge Changfeng, the 3 sages, humph, I've now come to see what you are. A month later, Zhuge Changfeng was back in the Luo clan's home, Wingate City. Everyone gathered in the hall, waiting for his news. Venerable Bai's group was the most tense, wanting to rush through Tianyu still and enter Chuanrong to escape pursuit. Luo Yunhai had to advise him many times to wait. Now that Steward Zhuge was back, they all gathered around eager to know the answer. Zhuge Changfeng calmly looked at them and smiled, milking the tense moment for all it was worth. The only ones calm were Ling Wuchang and Yu Ming, sipping tea at leisure. Steward Zhuge, how is it? Luo Yunhai could not hold it in. Smirking, Zhuge Changfeng was about to speak, but Ling Wuchang put one leg over the other as he began, clan head, just look at his obnoxious grin. Of course he did it. Hey, old Ling, I risked my life in mediating the problem while you just relaxed in your comfy chair. Zhuge Changfeng glared. Ling Wuchang stuck his chin out, and? I've been making plans here. Shitty plans more like it. You think I or Yu Ming can't do the same? Zhuge Changfeng mocked, try having a chat with that stone-cold Ren Xiaoyun. See how you'd fare then. This time I have to agree with Steward Zhuge. He is much better at us in being a mediator. I am best at strategizing while you are at shooting your mouth. Yu Ming grinned. Leng Wuchang's face twitched. Hey, are you two ganging up on me now? My tactics aren't for show. Old Zhuge, did you divide Tianyu's resources again? Cutting 10% from the demon scheming sect and adding to heaven trailing sect? Hee hee, I'm not an unwanted contriver for nothing. Since when was it your plan? Zhuge Changfeng mocked. Since the demon scheming sect wants to fight us, there's no point in holding back at all. And we needed a new cover too. Giving 10% to heaven trailing sect will make the two sects look cross, but demon scheming sect's hatred will turn on heaven trailing sect. While mystical heaven sect's unchanged income would make it look from the side at their scuffle. This way, it won't mind us as well. Adding heaven trailing sect's cover to that, the matter is settled. Really, Steward Zhuge, is it really over? Luo Yunhai cheered. Zhuge Changfeng nodded. Of course, clan head can rest easy. It wasn't much anyway, far more relaxed than Tianyu's previous tangled mess. First of all, the three sects aren't being difficult, especially heaven trailing sect. It sent troops to help the demon scheming sect, but it was only to control their growth. With it becoming a middle three sect, it posed a threat to heaven trailing sect. It was not for some meager 5,000 sacred stones, but to make sure that never happened, even going against Double Dragon Manor's rules openly. Since he has a goal, then that made it easier. Now that we're on his side, suppressing the demon scheming sect together would sure to put a wide smile on his face. And to avoid the demon scheming sect from being up against the wall, we only took just 10%, making it turn on heaven trailing sect as well, and not us. Otherwise, if we had cut every supply with it, it would be against Western lands rules and force it to invade Tianyu. At least with some income from us, they'd think twice about ruining Tianyu. This makes us appear more neutral. Leng Wuchang explained. Zhuge Changfeng mocked. Easier said than done. Implementing it has a lot of dangers. Sir Leng, if it had been you who went, you'd have been obliterated. Hey, Leng Wuchang shouted. Luo Yunhai smiled as he eased up the tension. While none of these intellectuals boasted they were the best, neither was about to back down, always butting heads when they met. Venerable Bai's side was stumped. They had been hounded by three sects, yet the matter had been solved just like that. This was the power of the three sages. Looking at them bickering, with Luo Yunhai mediating, Venerable Bai was gratified. They had little in terms of cultivation, but they had their own skills no one could surpass. Alright now, we should get ready to avenge Brother Zhua. The bickering stopped and Luo Yunhai turned serious, his eyes red. The others were pensive as well. According to our scouts, Steward Zhua had been under attack, resulting in an inferno for 1,000 miles and a barren wasteland for many more. Leng Wuchang grumbled, just what has the universal righteous sect done? Zhuge Changfeng muttered, for revenge, we must first gather our strength. Our enemies are 4 sects, with one being a superior 3 sect. You still want revenge? Venerable Bai looked at them in disbelief. The enemy is stronger than you can imagine, a sect for thousands of years. Luo Yunhai shouted, no matter who it is, this vengeance shall be paid in full. The Luo clan rose under Brother Zhua's protection. We all owe him our lives. This is something we must do. Luo Yunhai's bold words echoed in everyone's ears. Venerable Bai shouted, then, count us in as well. Chapter 793, Price. Chapter 793, Price. Proofreader, Papatonks. In the silent and cold hall, the glorious and dazzling throne struck a lonely figure. Xia Weiyue sat there, running his hands over its cold texture with a pleased grin. This seat is finally mine again. Sect leader. An aged voice came from behind. It's been months since we last heard of anything from the men we sent to pursue those traitors in Tianyu. I fear. Xia Weiyue's brow shook. Tianyu? Humph, I almost forgot that Zhua Fan came from there. Those ignorant fools must have sided with the traitors. How else could those weak fools escape from my palm? Venerable Sure, contact Heaven Trailing Sect and Mystical Heaven Sect to send more men. It's time we change our representative in Tianyu. Yes, sir. Venerable Sure nodded and was about to withdraw when a disciple rushed inside. He presented a jade. Sect leader, Double Dragon Manor sent word. Double Dragon Manor? Xia Weiyue mocked, just what has that universal righteous sect done? They even let those girls escape and report to Double Dragon Manor. Not that it matters, humph. Double Dragon Manor's elders are coming to investigate. We'll just stick to our story, making them the traitors. I have been sect leader for centuries, it's the least my status can do. The only one who could speak up, High Venerable, had been silenced forever. They can look into us all they want, it'll still be as I say it. This has been an internal fight, resulting in the death of High Venerable. They won't meddle in that, ha ha ha. Venerable Sure nodded, sect leader is brilliant. Yes. Xia Weiyue nodded, looking smug. Then he read the jade and burst out laughing, it's just like I thought. Double Dragon Manor warns us not to go too far. What worry can I have when they won't do anything? Paw! The jade slip was thrown to the ground like trash and Xia Weiyue mocked. Venerable Sure smiled, sect leader, Double Dragon Manor has been respected by the 9 sects because of their strength, but also fairness, not involving itself in a sect's matter. This is also what ties its hands. As long as we paint it as having traitors, they can't do anything. Or who would have respected them, turning the entire Western lands into chaos? This is something they want to avoid at all costs. You're right, Venerable Sure. The plan has been thought out, ha ha ha. Xia Weiyue waved his hand, get it done. Make sure you get those dregs tied to Zhuofan. Report. Another shout came followed by another disciple. He held a jade slip as he bowed. Xia Weiyue was dubious as to who would send one now. But after reading it, his rage blew. He smashed the jade to the ground and cursed, damn that Sangha Empire. Only months before they begged demon scheming sects men to come, and now they go back on their words, refusing us. Is it the great empire of the previous superior 3-sect universal righteous sect? Those rotten bastards. Xia Weiyue cursed, I never thought a great empire would actually resort to being so shameless. Venerable Sure scratched his nose and shook his head. Report. Then came a long string of shouts as disciples came in one after the other before Xia Weiyue. Xia Weiyue had a sinking feeling, but took them one at a time. Yet after each one, his anger only spiked higher before smashing them to pieces. This is absurd. What's going on with all of these empires? We've talked and agreed on something, to be under our protection, now they're all backing out. Even those middle 3-sex empires I ignored when the superior 3-sex empires were fighting over us now dislike us. Just what the hell is going on here? Sect leader. Venerable Sure was quite calm, maybe they think that without Zhuofan, there's no growth. Xia Weiyue glared at him, what did you say? They did it for Zhuofan. No way. Demon scheming sect leader is me, Xia Weiyue. Sect leader, stop lying to yourself. Venerable Sure shook his head. Zhuofan showed off in the Double Dragon gathering, destined to be the best in Western lands. Those empires were fighting to be under his wing, not under a lower 3-sect meant to grow into a middle 3-sect. Without Zhuofan, our value dropped sharply, making them back down. Shut your mouth. Xia Weiyue spat, you dare say that? Don't forget the sect has reached middle 3-sect status under my rule. Venerable Sure nodded, yes, sect leader had done great things, but your greatest achievement was bringing Zhuofan. Xia Weiyue's face twitched, about to spit blood. Sect leader, I'm not here to criticize you, but as a sect leader you need to understand your limits. Venerable Sure laughed, to be fair, I must agree on Zhuofan replacing you. High Venerable had made the right choice. You became a sect leader to begin with because there was no one else better. Now that one appeared, a change was in order. As to why I have been always against Zhuofan, wanting to kill him, that's because he's my enemy. But regarding competence, I admire him wholly. Venerable Shi. Also. Venerable Shi snickered as Xie Weiyue shouted, "Sect leader, your temper better change. As you know, the entire sect is now made up of us, old guys. I helped you get your seat, now just sit on it and not stir things up like before. When you want something that's not yours to begin with, there's always a price to pay, ha ha ha." Xie Weiyue was livid from anger, glaring as Venerable Shi just walked away. He then slumped in his lone and cold throne. He got his seat, but that was it. Report. Yet another disciple rushed in and Venerable Shi blocked him. "Let me take those jade slips. Sect leader needn't bother." Yes. The disciple nodded and Xie Weiyue shook in rage and powerlessness. Reading it, Venerable Shi pondered before saying, Sect leader Ren is telling us not to make a scene in Tianyu and upset the peace between the three sections. And that from now on, Tianyu's tribute to us is 10% lower. What? Xie Weiyue jumped to his feet. Venerable Shi sighed, flicking the jade slip backward as he walked away. It seems Tianyu has some smart people to string heaven trailing sect along. Meanwhile, in Blackwind Mountain. As a show of good faith, Luo Yunhai took Venerable Bai's group to where war puppets were made, in the bunker. But war puppets were no longer here, replaced now by a sparkling mountain of crystals. Scared stones? Fiend Yang cried out, How did you get so many? Luo Yunhai looked at him perplexed, this is a lot. After attacking Mystical Heaven sect, Brother Zhua saw our heavy losses and gave us 1 million of these rocks, saying they had way more spiritual energy than common spirit stones. They should help us raise many experts in a short time and recoup our losses. I was not sure what he meant then, though they sure have some good uses. We've just put them all here in bunker for a couple of days and already had a good few radiant stage elders enter ethereal stage. Using them for arrays, they also boost their power quite a bit. Million. Face twitching, Fiend Yang grabbed Luo Yunhai's hands, touched to tears, Luo clan head, we'll follow you. I bet only Double Dragon Manor would have so many sacred stones in Western lands. No superior 3 sect could come close. With these resources, our power will rise higher and higher. Damn that Zhua fan. He lied to us, whining on his poverty, that cheapskate, when he could take out so many. If I knew, what was the point of going to Double Dragon Gathering anyway? The others nodded, then they crowded around Luo Yunhai, proclaiming their lifelong allegiance to the Luo clan. Luo Yunhai nodded in reflex, still shocked. Are these baubles that enticing? Seeing them so lively, 2 figures left the bunker in silence. They looked at the setting sun in sadness. Shuang'e noticed her grief and said, Don't worry, Sister Yunchang, with so many sacred stones, Brother Zhuo will be avenged. What's the point? It won't bring him back. Tearing up, Luo Yunchang's empty eyes reflected the fading twilight. In the Double Dragon Manor, Chu Qingcheng and the 2 girls watched the same sun, their eyes filled with unwillingness. Footsteps were heard as Wu Qingqiu came from behind. Miss Chu, are you dissatisfied with Double Dragon Manor's method? Who here isn't? Brother Zhua's death is unjust, but we must also take into account Double Dragon Manor's stance. It involves 4 sections. Then there's grave news from Eastern lands and their unrest. The exalted have no choice but to settle Western lands first. Clenching her teeth, Chu Qingcheng said nothing, her eyes hazy from tears of hatred. Chapter 794, Infernal Valley. Chapter 794, Infernal Valley. Proofreader, Papatonks. SSS. In a pitch-black space, a golden flame raged. It grew and grew, taking the shape of a mile-long dragon, shedding some light to this dark place. Roar! A draconic roar came from the golden fire and it looked below at the tiny humans, only 2 of them. One stood there with utmost respect and a slight bow, Yi Lin. The other was an icy corpse, covered in gaping wounds from head to toe. Looking at the corpse, the dragon rumbled, "Is he the one you spoke of?" "Yes, master. I have brought him." Yi Lin bowed. Squinting, the fire dragon sized him up, "You sure were vicious. I only asked you to bring him and use the dragon breath pill if necessary to warn him, not to show up here with him beaten so bad there's not a breath in him. Is it revenge for last time? But if he's the one you told me, why did he get hurt so easily? And you're completely unharmed, unlike last time being carried here from the double dragon gathering." "Master, am I so petty?" Yi Lin sighed, "I fought in the double dragon gathering with my name as a sacred beast inheritor on the line. A loss is a loss, why be so narrow-minded about it? Moreover, since I already lost once, I wouldn't have the heart to fight him again." The huge draconic eye shook, waiting for his explanation. Yi Lin bowed, "Master, when I rushed over, he was already surrounded by the Universal Righteous Sect's hundreds of people. I have used the dragon breath pill Master gave me to get rid of them, then brought this half-dead body here." "I see, he's been attacked." The fire dragon looked down and became astounded, "Just who on earth is his master? He has too many inheritances. Many of them belong to astounding figures, no less renowned than myself." Yi Lin nodded, "Yes, master, when I fought him, I also felt his inheritance was complex, not just from one person. But even against his chaotic and incomplete powers, I still lost. I have shamed master." "No, if you were to lose to anyone else, that's when you would have shamed me. But losing to him is justified." The fire dragon's face was solemn. Startled, Yi Lin wondered, why is the always competitive master suddenly soft? He actually admitted his disciple is weaker than another. The fire dragon said, "Yi Lin, you must have heard me telling you about the 10 ancient sovereigns and us 5 great sacred beasts, with many other strong beings in the sacred domain. Smiley face, the 10 ancient emperors are actually in a stage far above the one the demonic emperor was in, despite having the same title. Now I changed it to reflect that." Nodding, Yi Lin blinked, waiting for him to continue. "Now I'll share with you the source of his inheritance." The draconic claw whistled in the air and pointed at Zhuofan's right arm. "This arm comes from Soaring Qilin, a part of a real sacred beast that was born from the primal chaos. It's on an entire different level from you, who has been transformed to be in between man and beast. If he had known how to use it, one fist would have been able to render you heavily wounded. At most, only 3 punches could you take on. SSS. Yi Lin gasped in shock, staring hard at that arm. He thought Zhuofan and he were the same, sacred beast inheritors, their bodies transformed by sacred beasts. But now he realized that he had a real sacred beast part on him. There was just no comparison. Yi Lin sighed, feeling down. However, how could a sacred beast simply give their body to humans? When the rejection happened, it would have taken his life. Can it be then that 9 Serenity's research was a success? Ignoring his disciple's glum look, the fire dragon frowned. That settles it, he's 9 Serenity's successor. Only that old freak could resort to such twisted and outrageous methods. Yi Lin cried out, "The 3rd strongest of the 10 ancient sovereigns, 9 Serenity's sovereign?" "Yes, I noticed the peculiarity of his yuan qi in his dantian and found it to be a blend of thousands of things. I once heard that 9 Serenities comprehended a skill that can vie with Heavenly Sovereign's void, compatible with any kind of constitution. Now that I see it, the cultivation method has indeed been passed down." The fire dragon nodded. "It's because of this that his body can hold so many different powers without clashing. Especially the power of us, 5 great sacred beasts." Vaulting Kunpeng's chaos flame merged with the spirit, Soaring Qilin's almighty flesh, Thunder Phoenix's berserk purple lightning flooding his veins, all lay quiet. If it were anyone else, these 3 alone would have ended him if they clashed. "What?" Yi Lin was shocked. "You're telling me he has 3 great sacred beast powers?" He also sensed it while fighting Zhuofan, but hearing his master confirm it was still a shock. One would already be immensely prideful for having one, yet this guy up and had 3 of them. What kind of a lucky bastard was he anyway? He would rather believe Zhuo Fan was just a sacred beast inheritor, with the other two coming from who knew where but had to be given back. The other option was simply insane. Humph, 3 sacred beast powers? You still have no idea. The fire dragon mocked, moving a sharp claw to peel the eyelid off Zhuo Fan's right golden eye. Yi Lin, see here. Remember it, the divine eye of the void of the strongest in sacred domain, heavenly sovereign. He is also the one us sacred beasts could never defeat. Eye twitching, Yi Lin was overwhelmed, heavenly sovereign's successor. Precisely. Flaring his snout, the fire dragon's eyes flashed with hatred, but for him to have heavenly sovereign skill, it must be that he's unrelated to him, instead getting the treasure Qilin stole. Humph, heavenly sovereign would be so pissed to know his precious skill got leaked, ha ha ha. The fire dragon cackled, imagining the look of anger on heavenly sovereign's face. Yi Lin cried, 3 great sacred beasts, 2 sovereigns? That's 5 peak inheritance. Who the hell is he? It doesn't matter, for in the end he's a really lucky winner. The fire dragon raised an eyebrow. Also, Yi Lin, I have something to tell you, but don't be jealous. He doesn't have just 5, but 1 more. The fire dragon pointed at Zhuo Fan's belly. Whoosh! A light flashed and Blood Infant turned into a demonic sword, under the immense heat of the flame and the fire dragon's might. The demonic sword shook, then returned back to Zhuo Fan's body. Yi Lin was stumped. Master, is that a sword? No, a spirit. The fire dragon said, there was a rumor about Patriarch Blood Demon I told you about. He was only in the saint stage yet refined a blood infant that none in the sovereign stage dared to mess with. But after he died, his skill was lost. I never thought I'd meet it here, added to a sacred weapon to become a sword spirit. Ha ha ha, the power blood infant has when reaching saint stage while using a sacred weapon will be unthinkable. I bet it can easily dispatch average sovereigns. The fire dragon laughed, his eyes pensive. Yi Lin looked at Zhuo Fan with a complicated look, 6 peak inheritances. Now this is heaven's favorite. How can I compare to him, when I only have 1? Ahem, getting my inheritance is the highlight of anyone's life. And what's the use of having so many anyway? Unable to reach their peak will still get you beaten up. The fire dragon scolded. Yi Lin grinned, and if he does train them? Well, the fire dragon sighed, then he'll be unstoppable. Yi Lin stood there stunned. But then, the fire dragon shook his head, which is impossible. The ultimate skills of sovereigns and the abilities of sacred beasts came about after millions of years. To master them all is just not feasible. It's better if you stick with mine, on the path of the fire dragon, rather than bite more than you can chew. And you don't have 9 Serenity's sovereign's inheritance either and can't agree to having so many powers. You'll only die. Disappointed still, Yi Lin nodded in the end, then he looked down on Zhuo Fan. Master, his body shows no sign of life, ruined. But his soul might be saved. Ha ha ha, his soul is under Chaos Flame's protection and should recover by himself. But wounded as he is, only if I trigger it. As for his body, it's not ruined just yet. He has the blood infant protecting it. It holds the source of life. As long as blood infant is around, his body will never die. His severely damaged body needs to be repaired, is all. The fire dragon hissed as he ripped a golden scale, placing it over Zhuo Fan's body. Then a scorching golden flame engulfed him, burning hotter and hotter. Chapter 795, Revival. Chapter 795, Revival. Proofreader, Papatonks. Golden flame refining, decimating dragon scale armor. Eyes squinting, Yi Lin watched the familiar spectacle for a long time. It was the same way he was saved back then. Master, you're using your reverse scale again and decimating golden flame to refine his body. Won't that mean he'll be just like me? Why, jealous? Never once considering his disciple's opinion, the fire dragon nodded. Yi Lin's face twitched and sighed, that'll give him a 7th peak inheritance. The decimating golden flame that only I had, now he has it while I don't have what he has. It's hard to feel at ease, master. Humph, rotten brat, what's there to be unsettled about? The fire dragon smirked, can you even do what I told you to do alone? Haha, I know how improbable that is. Since such a perfect and rare specimen came, a kindred spirit as well, I'll be sure to use everything to save him, to strengthen him so he could finish my work. Yi Lin's brow twitched, kindred. Yes, kindred. Fire Dragon's eyes flashed and revealed a nasty grin. Those huge eyes never left the ball of fire below. 9 serenities. In a hazy area, a lonely shadow floated around perplexed, who is it? What are you calling? His questions went unanswered, the voices coming and going, shouting 9 serenities' name on and on. The shadow questioned some more, but no answer was provided. He chose to ignore them, just floating there in this desolate place. Suddenly, an aged figure stood before him, with clothes as black as night. The old man faced away from him. The shadow had a peculiar look as he asked, "Who are you?" The old man was ever silent, ignoring him just as the voices did. It just floated forward. "Wait." Then the old man spoke, "Forward is the great beyond. If you step any further, there'll be no going back." Frowning, the shadow asked, "What's this great beyond?" "A place where your spirit fades." The old man replied. Looking around, he saw nothing but mist, with no paths around. But when he looked in front, there was pitch-black darkness. "Where should I go?" The old man paused, left speechless. He finally sighed, "Wait here." "Oh." The shadow nodded, standing there like a good child. In front there was pitch blackness and behind, darkness. Around him there was nothingness swirling, with only he and the old man standing here. 9 serenities, we've waited your return. The drawn-out calls came once again. The old man shook. The shadow asked, "Are they calling, for you?" "Yeah." "Why don't you answer them?" "They can't hear me, nor would they dare to talk back." The old man's back shook a bit and sighed, "I have promised something I failed to do and can't return." The shadow looked around, at the endless haze without any path in sight. "Yeah, there's no return without a path. Unless..." The shadow pointed at the pitch blackness in front, "You go there. But once I do, I'll never come out, never coming back." The old man sighed, "I still want to return. I can't ever go forward." The shadow nodded after a pause, then floated forward. As he went, pitch blackness crept behind him, cutting his retreat. The old man shouted, "What are you doing? Didn't I told you not to go? But this is the only way." Shaking, the shadow looked at the old man, puzzled. The old man shivered, as if afraid. The shadow just kept going forward. "Hold on a minute." The old man cried, "Before you go, mind answering a question of mine?" "What question?" "Who are you?" Startled, the shadow frowned for a long time, then shook his head, "I don't know." "Who am I?" "Promise me this, before you can answer my question, you can't go forward." The old man spoke solemnly. The shadow scratched his head and nodded. But then he was perplexed again as he took another step forward unconsciously. "Who am I? Who am I? I have let you all down. I can't go back." The old man sighed and shook all over. "My spirit is barely holding on. It's so weak I can't even remember my name, haha. I want to go with him. Who am I?" The shadow passed by the old man and failed to notice that the old man was walking by his side, deeper into the abyss. Then, in this hazy world, a blinding light flashed. A huge ball of golden fire shone. It cast its light upon the shadow, revealing a very familiar face. As if by agreement, an azure flame ignited on his forehead, soon covering his entire body and turning him into a human-shaped azure fire. "Who am I?" The shadow's eyes were hazy as it muttered. But as the azure flame spread to his eyes, he woke up shouting, I am Zhuofan. Demonic Emperor Zhuofan. Like a vow, the shout dispelled the abyss, making the ever-encroaching pitch blackness fade away. The darkness faded and gave way to glorious and vibrant light. Zhuofan floated now towards the golden flames, but before he melded with them, he turned to look at the old man fading away from the light. Who are you? Zhuofan shouted. The old man was no longer visible, but just as Zhuofan was entering the golden flame, the old man's voice reached him, we will meet again. On the edge of death, or when we achieve Tao, ha ha ha. Boom! With a huge explosion, fire motes flew all over and Zhuofan came out of it with golden shining in his eyes, filled with flames. His body was covered in golden scales releasing blistering heat, capable of melting anything. You're finally back, child. Zhuofan was still out of all that was happening when he heard a rumbling voice. He turned his head with a start and saw a huge dragon head staring right at him with an eerie look. The golden flames burned so hot it warped the space around it. Zhuofan cried out, one of the 5 great sacred beasts, decimating dragon ancestor? Am I an infernal gorge? He, right you are. This is my domain, welcome. The dragon ancestor let out a wave of scorching air, forcing Zhuofan back. Zhuofan was perplexed. What am I doing here? Yilin read his mind, I brought you. When you were fighting the universal righteous sect siege, you were at the end of your life, your soul and body about to go cold. Only my master could save you. That's why I brought you here. Yilin. Zhuofan's brow shook. Zhuofan pondered then shouted, what about the girls? How are they? Yilin raised an eyebrow, since when did you care about someone else? Just tell me, are they all right? They're fine. When I arrived, only you were fighting, blocking hundreds of men from Universal Righteous Sect. I did you a favor and killed them all. There should be no pursuers. Good, that's good. Easing a breath he'd been holding, Zhuofan was relieved. In his persistent determination to hold on for 3 days, his consciousness had faded at some point. One might have even ruled him dead. But he went on, hanging on to that last breath. That was what kept him fighting for so long, while he knew nothing of what was happening nor if the girls got away. The decimating dragon ancestor asked curiously, child, are those people related to you? Dragon ancestor, my wife is with them. Zhuofan bowed, knowing how to clean up his act before such an almighty existence. His answer made the dragon snort, flaring its nostrils. Heed my warning. Break all ties with them. You're not even aware you sunk so deep because of them? If you really do care about your wife, stay away from her. What? Zhuofan stood there dumbstruck. Chapter 796, 10 Sovereigns, 10 Paths. Chapter 796, 10 Sovereigns, 10 Paths. Proofreader, Papatonks. Glancing at the dumbstruck Zhuofan, the dragon ancestor turned to Yilin, leave us, there's something I want to speak to the kid. The dragon then clawed the air. Following the wave of heat, the space tore, revealing on the other side a magnificent landscape. Yilin looked at the dazed Zhuofan then bowed and left. The tear sealed behind him and this area was once again a searing inferno. Just what's going on? What do you mean by that? Zhuofan's brow shook and he felt uneasy. The dragon ancestor had touched his greatest fear. The dragon shouted, before I answer, you must first be honest with me. Who are you? Why do you have so many great legacies despite being so young? Zhuofan did not reply. It was his greatest secret and not something that could be shared. Talk, or you'll one day be sorry. Don't say I didn't warn you. The dragon ancestor's roar gave a stern warning. Sighing, Zhuofan felt helpless. He had lost all grounds in this negotiation. Not that it mattered much. Vaulting Kunpeng had him explain himself and now talking to this dragon ancestor wouldn't be much of a difference. He wanted to know why the dragon ancestor wanted him detached from others, especially Qingqing. So he began detailing his 2 lives, making sure to include his meeting with Kunpeng and his request to find the other sacred beasts. The dragon ancestor was stunned. He sighed, "Kid, you're really something to have such strange circumstances. You must know that any one of those legacies is a dream come true for others. Yet you took them all for yourself, ha ha ha. Congratulations, especially on 9 Serenity's dubious arts, allowing you to come back through grudges. Even I have to show my admiration for such skill." Zhuofan chuckled and nodded, feeling the same way towards 9 Serenity's sovereign's research. However, the dragon ancestor changed his tone, his maw perked in a savage grin. "Kid, despite the amazing luck on you, it fails you when you most need it. You've been had by Kunpeng and now you're stuck with us. Your life is destined to be spent in fear, under constant despair your life might end the next moment." Zhuofan's heart trembled from shock. Where did that come from? The ancient period. With a long sigh, the dragon ancestor released a heat wave and his fiery bulk shook. As he gazed at the sky, he struck a lonely figure. "In the time of the primal chaos, when heaven and earth began to take shape, we were born, graced with 5 primal abilities. Everywhere we went, the beasts saw us as kings and the humans unable to reach our level. But us, 5 great sacred beasts, only had interest in each other, to duel and settle once and for all who had supreme dominion over this world. The fights were endless. The disregard for humans was so severe, we saw them as nothing but snacks. This is how we spent the next few millions of years, always fighting and never winning, unable to settle on a one ruler. Kunpeng, the old geezer, maybe his gentle chaos flame being able to harmonize yin and yang had something to do with it, was slick and cunning. This made him be seen as a friend by the other 4 sacred beasts from the constant mediating of our conflicts. But he was far from being fit to be the leader of us 5 great sacred beasts. None of us was any weaker than the other to begin with." Zhuofan nodded. Sacred beasts were not much different from wild beasts. Unless beaten into submission, it would just not listen. Preaching and smooth-talking was pointless. But, dragon ancestor continued, "One day, beyond our knowledge, our carefree days ended. The humans we disregarded so much revealed to have 10 strong members. They had deep insights in the workings of the world, creating remarkable arts that held the power to contend with our might. To the point the top 3 were able to beat us. These 10 later on became the 10 ancient sovereigns. Their power was called the 10 paths to heaven. They can break the world and seize all. Under their guidance, humanity began to comprehend the Tao, beginning to cultivate and grow stronger. Countless experts rose to prominence while the supremacy of the sacred beasts upon the world began to wane. They were driven back to the forests and mountains. Only then did we realize that heaven was impartial. While our might was incredible, our intelligence was not. Be it sacred beasts or spiritual beasts, none could understand the heart's mysteries, blocking our advance. Humanity was weak, but was very sharp too, with the chance to rise to the top. Especially those 10, they have become the peak of this world's power." Dragon ancestor sighed, "By the way, kid, don't you have patriarch blood demon's blood infant in you as well? That's borrowed power, something that will never get you to the top. Do you know why patriarch blood demon was stuck in the saint stage and the sovereigns avoided him? Isn't it because he was a show-off and ended up being killed before reaching the sovereign stage?" Zhuofan asked. Dragon ancestor laughed at his answer, mocking, "Even you're giving credence to rumors, kid? An outstanding expert will treasure his life the higher he rises. With how cultivation takes ages to advance, who would show off? Knowing he was in the saint stage, no matter how strong, he'd be suicidal going against a sovereign." Startled, Zhuofan pondered a bit before nodding. "True, if I were in patriarch blood demon's stead, getting to the sovereign stage was a much better option than to flex." "Then why?" Dragon ancestor spoke, "The 10 paths to heaven are finite and all accounted for. For one to rise, another had to fall. This is why the patriarch blood demon always lived on edge, challenging the sovereigns, which ended up being his downfall as well. As an ex-demonic emperor of the sacred domain, you should have a broader horizon. Haven't you ever noticed that all the arts and skills in the world have their roots going back to these 10 paths? Trembling, Zhuo Fan was in a state of shock. That means... Precisely. Dragon Ancestor's eyes flashes, as long as the 10 sovereigns live, even if humanity cultivates, it will never reach higher. This is a world constant, its balance. It places a limit on the number of ultimate experts at one time to maintain it. The 10 paths to heaven are in balance. That's why one can only rise when another has fallen. Everything revolves around them. Stunned, Zhuo Fan clenched his fists in denial. Doesn't that mean that all cultivators are stuck in the saint stage? Not necessarily. Dragon Ancestor shook his head. I already said, if one falls, another may rise. Humanity cultivates to comprehend the Tao, to the point of reaching the peak and seeing the nature of the world. Only most cultivators' insight falls in line with the 10 paths, thus cutting off your future. But by gaining insight in a path outside of these 10, then you'll be a fully fledged sovereign in your own right. Then, as heaven wills it, with the rise of one, another has to fall. When Patriarch Blood Demon challenged the sovereigns, he did it in belief that his blood path was outside of theirs, a new path that allowed him to dethrone one of the 10 sovereigns. He was mistaken, unfortunate, as the demonic blood path fell under 9 Serenity's path. This bound him to the saint stage for the rest of his life. His blood infant was amazing, yes, but it was only a skill, while his cultivation could never reach the height of power the 10 sovereigns enjoyed. Zhuo Fan nodded. This explains why after years and years, there was no other sovereign appearing besides the 10 ancient sovereigns. The requirements are too high. Even if the 10 sovereigns weren't there, one must first comprehend their path to become its patriarch before rising into the sovereign stage. In a meritorious world such as this, hardly anyone had such qualifications. My master, Elder Yuan, has a high chance of comprehending the heart path. A shame his aptitude lacks, stunting his cultivation stage despite his deep insight. Zhuo Fan shook his head and sighed. The road to the sovereign stage is beyond difficult. Dragon Ancestor looked at him hard then smiled. Ha ha ha, kid, you think that's hard? Wrong again. For us, the 5 great sacred beasts and the 10 sovereigns, the sovereign stage is in the past. What all of us really care about is that even in the sovereign stage, we're all nothing but the world's toys, under constant threat and unable to dominate the world in the truest sense. The 10 paths to heaven might look unflinching, but they aren't without dangers. They are at risk of being replaced. That is why we wanted to strive for a higher stage. This is what brought the next series of great events. It even included your fate. Trembling, Zhuo Fan's expression turned heavy as he frowned, waiting for the explanation. Chapter 797, Heavenly Sovereign's Prison. Chapter 797, Heavenly Sovereign's Prison. Proofreader, Papatonks. Humanity focuses on insight. To advance, they need to go through the stages. Sacred beasts rely on power and need to amass greater power to advance. This ended up being the root of the most terrible war of all time. Dragon Ancestor's eyes shone as he grit his fangs, showing his bloodlust. All humans searched for a way to advance, with almost none succeeding. But 2 sovereigns and 1 beast had their own ideas. They were the strongest heavenly sovereign, the most devious 9 Serenities, and the most unscrupulous Geezer Kuanpeng. If not for him, Thunder Phoenix would have never had suffered so much at Heavenly Sovereign's insidious blow. Zhuo Fan's heart shook. Heavenly Sovereign hurt the Thunder Phoenix? How else do you think the purple lightning gold eye came to be? Decimating Dragon Ancestor mocked. Each of these 3 had their own way of overcoming the sovereign stage. Heavenly Sovereign wanted to do it through the divine eye of the void that contained everything. By holding all the world offered, he'll become its supreme ruler. 9 Serenity's Sovereign pondered that all things had the same source, the world's Tao. By wielding the world's power, wouldn't you have it all? Through their own understanding, each ruled. Zhuo Fan shook and nodded. This must be the source of the demon transformation art. A shame Nine Serenity's sovereign never got the chance to train it, having gone missing. As for Kunpeng, Dragon Ancestor grew angry, his burning claw swiping around. He actually wanted to steal our 4 great sacred beasts' power. By means of returning them to primal chaos, he would go beyond a sacred beast and reach the highest level. What? Combining 5 great sacred beasts' powers? Zhuo Fan was shocked. Thinking about it, he had considered it as well at some point. But he was not the first. Kunpeng came up with it in ancient times. If he hadn't combined 4 of them already, Zhuo Fan would have labeled Kunpeng as a madman. 5 extreme powers clashing into each other. It'd be a miracle if you were still around to tell the tale. But having gone through that preliminary process, he knew that the result would be beyond the 5 great sacred beasts' power. So much so, it was in another realm. While Kunpeng's intentions were dubious at best, this avenue showed promise. As for success, it all came down to how he handled these powers. Dragon Ancestor continued in a dark tone, ever since the 10 sovereigns appeared, we could no longer overlook humanity. But humans are deceitful, unlike the frank spiritual beasts. To come in contact with the 10 sovereigns, we elected the most glib sacred beast among us, Kunpeng. We had no way of knowing the crafty Kunpeng who only mediated our conflicts had been corrupted by humanity's twisted minds. To test whether the 5 powers could be combined, he created the word-crushing array that 5 beasts could use. He came to us with it by lying it was to counter the 10 sovereigns. The day the array was employed, no matter how strong the 5 powers were, there was no sign of joining together. Disappointed, he figured the powers were still inside each of us and that's why they could not fuse correctly. So he sought the help of Heavenly Sovereign. The first victim ended up to be Thunder Phoenix. That means young Sanzi is in terrible danger. Zhuo Fan panicked. He had severe doubts about Kunpeng from the start, but since he had done nothing untoward so far, he let down his guard. But hearing Kunpeng's goal from Dragon Ancestor, letting Gu Santong in his charge was like handing him on a silver platter. Dragon Ancestor shook his head, worry not, the old coot won't touch the kid. He's still growing. All the powers in the world are in balance. A tiny Qilin won't put a dent in his appetite to begin with. It's too soon for his plan. Besides, he has yet to find the right way to even achieve it. Nodding, Zhuo Fan eased a heavy breath. But even so, he was still worried about leaving young Sanzi with that geezer. Especially since he painted a pretty picture when he asked you to come save us. It's obvious to everyone that with your immature divine eye of the void, there won't be any rescue. His meaning was to make peace since we all have a common enemy. Heavenly Sovereign? Zhuo Fan's heart thumped. Dragon Ancestor's mood was heavy, yes, when he went to ally with Heavenly Sovereign, it was the worst mistake of his life. Heavenly Sovereign's ambition was far greater. After stealing Thunder Phoenix's berserk purple lightning, he turned. Heavenly Sovereign is a proud man, considering everyone beneath him, even us, sacred beasts. But he feared our powers. Especially Thunder Phoenix's, known to be a destructive force of raw power, the most terrible of the 5. If he took the purple lightning for himself, then nothing in the world could escape his divine eye of the void. He worked with Kunpeng, but only to test his limits. Once he assessed them, he went to work on his true plan, which included all living things. What is it? Zhuo Fan asked even as his mind worked some guesses. With a sneer, the Dragon Ancestor said, as an inheritor of the divine eye of the void, you still don't know its power? A new world? Yes, creating an entirely new world and having everything move there, to become its supreme ruler. Taking a deep breath, the Dragon Ancestor revealed a hint of fear. This is without a doubt a catastrophe to this world. With everything contained in his eye, we'll be nothing but cattle. Or, worse, he plans on using the power of the entire world to advance beyond the sovereign stage and attain true dominion. Sacred beasts being against this was obvious, but even the other sovereigns would defy it. This marked the start of a great war among the 10 ancient sovereigns. It ravaged the lands for millennia, taking a heavy toll on its inhabitants. No matter how strong Heavenly Sovereign was, not even he was assured of victory. To make sure his ultimate skill did not go out, he used an imparting stone, hiding it behind a realm. Finding out about this, we planned on stealing it and figuring out its weaknesses. But soon, Heavenly Sovereign noticed our plan. Enraged, he hunted us 4 sacred beasts down. With the power of his eye, he created the mortal domain to trap us. In essence, the mortal domain is Heavenly Sovereign's prison, and we the inmates. We were being assaulted by berserk purple lightning every day, wanting to take back his art. He had no idea Qilin had taken it, ha ha ha. Dragon Ancestor laughed, but his joy was with tears. For the great sacred beasts to be trapped by a single man, this was no longer shame, but humiliation. And he was Heavenly Sovereign, the strongest sovereign for a reason. Zhuo Fan was dumbstruck. Every sacred domain denizen believed the lowest rung, the mortal domain, was made naturally. Now he found out the truth that Heavenly Sovereign had created it to trap the sacred beasts. Just what power is that? Isn't this like being the ruler of a world? Is this the power of a sovereign? Dragon Ancestor broke him out of his dazed look with a smile. Heavenly Sovereign is the very peak of this world. Zhuo Fan sighed. Afterward, we roamed the mortal domain, suffering every day, oblivious of how the 10 sovereigns' war was going. Then the 10 sovereigns vanished practically overnight. The rumors say they fell, dead fighting each other. Zhuo Fan sighed. Dragon Ancestor cracked up, ha ha ha, they fell? Don't make me laugh. Granted, others might fall, but Heavenly Sovereign? What about this prison, isn't it still standing? The mortal domain will stand as long as Heavenly Sovereign lives. Craning his head up, Zhuo Fan asked in disbelief. Dragon Ancestor shook his head, I'm unsure either. The mortal domain was something he made with his eye. I don't know if it would vanish once he's dead. But I can still feel his piercing gaze on this world, to see if we have yet to still be under the purple lightning's onslaught. Heavenly Sovereign still watches this place. Maybe not watch, since everything here is in the palm of his hand. Dragon Ancestor gritted his fangs. Just like in the new world he wants to make in his own image, the people here are at his whim. As if the world laws or the 10 paths to heaven, the amount of experts are limited. He appears to be the overlord of this world, pressing down on the strong cultivators. Kid, you came from the sacred domain, but have you ever heard of anyone from the mortal domain reaching the sacred domain? Zhuo Fan frowned, I have never thought about it like that. But the mortal domain's spiritual energy is thin and makes it hard for. A thought struck Zhuo Fan, you mean? Quite. Dragon Ancestor's voice was firm, in the mortal domain, Heavenly Sovereign's world, not only is cultivation suppressed, but no one is allowed to leave it. If there's a true outstanding genius that comes out, humph, Heavenly Sovereign's rage would bore down on him, snuffing him out. In the end, this place is a test for Heavenly Sovereign's new world. He is the lord over it and we are merely the guinea pigs populating it. Chapter 798, Apocalyptic Thunder Flame Eye. Chapter 798, Apocalyptic Thunder Flame Eye. Proofreader, Papatonks. Zhuo Fan was overwhelmed by what Dragon Ancestor declared, finding it very hard to believe it was true. That's simply godlike. It goes beyond what any expert can do. Humph, no god has the power to create world laws. Dragon Ancestor sighed, but in the mortal domain, Heavenly Sovereign is tantamount to the Creator, having everything in this world under his control. This is the greatest ability of the divine eye of the void, a new world. Zhuo Fan stood there, dazed, unable to conceive the 10 ancient sovereigns could hold so much power, having never seen them before. Although from the Dragon Ancestor's words, he did know one, it was obvious the rest were no pushovers either. Dragon Ancestor, I see that you control this place as well. Zhuo Fan looked around at the fiery place, there's no berserk purple lightning here and Yilin can come and go whenever. Getting out of here should be easy for you. Are you perhaps stalling it out of fear of Heavenly Sovereign? The huge fiery head nodded, yes, I'm not sure if the sovereigns have gone like you said, Heavenly Sovereign included. They might be just heavily wounded. But even so, he's still the master of the mortal domain, while disregarding feeble ants like you scurrying around, he will definitely look closer at us sacred beasts. Especially when he had made preparation in the mortal domain. Back then, he and Sword Sovereign had created 5 sacred weapons, to guard the mortal domain. The moment they sense our energy, they would suck the 5 sacred mines dry then come to kill us. And since this is the mortal domain, under Divine Eye of the Void suppression, our power is severely weaker than in the sacred domain and can't block them. Speaking of, you already got one to accept you. The mortal domain's 5 lands defending sacred weapons were made by Heavenly Sovereign and Sword Sovereign for you in mind? Zhuo Fan cried out. Dragon Ancestor nodded. Among the 10 sovereigns, Sword Sovereign specialized in refining weapons, and also Heavenly Sovereign's confidant. While Heavenly Sovereign made this place, Sword Sovereign placed the many arrays. Even if we overcame years of purple lightning torture, we won't leave still. Those sacred weapons are our jailers. We have nowhere to run. I see. I was wondering why the Divine Eye of the Void could resist the sacred weapon. It's because it won't fight what came from its master. Zhuo Fan nodded as things began to fall into place. When he went to the sacred mine, he was attacked by the sacred weapon all because it sensed the Qilin energy on him. But then he frowned. What of vaulting Kunpeng? He's in no prison, able to go wherever in the mortal domain. Why isn't he afraid of Heavenly Sovereign? Is he still on Heavenly Sovereign's side? Not at all. To be honest, Heavenly Sovereign has no use for him any longer. Heavenly Sovereign wanted to capture him and force him to give up his techniques, but always failed. He failed. Showing off as the king of beasts in the All-Beast mountain range, Zhuo Fan was stunned. Dragon Ancestor smiled. That's Heavenly Sovereign's only lapse. He is but a sovereign, no matter how powerful, and not the master of the real world to govern everything. Kid, you know as well that Kunpeng Geyser's chaos flame can harmonize yin and yang, able to blend the primal chaos power at the source of every being. He hides in the All-Beast mountain range so that the beasts there mask his energy. Not even Heavenly Sovereign can find him like that, unless he comes out himself. With the beasts hiding him, he'd be no different from the other humans mingling about in the mortal domain. Moreover, Heavenly Sovereign would never think that having us imprisoned in these spaces, that old geezer long ago hid in the All-Beast mountain range, still within the range of his prison. The safest place is also the most dangerous. I bet Heavenly Sovereign must be scouring this world for the Coot but won't ever find him. Zhuo Fan nodded, now realizing the azure flame was so ingenious. Or maybe Kunpeng is so devious. Now I've explained to you all the ins and outs and you should understand the world better. My warning should now be much clearer. Dragon Ancestor finished his sad story and returned back to the main topic. Shaking all over, Zhuo Fan's eyes glazed over, still reluctant. You should know by now who Heavenly Sovereign is. He made the mortal domain, imprisoning us and using purple lightning to torture us. Why didn't he kill us? Isn't it to find his art and not get anyone to learn it? This just shows how much he cares for it. Staring at Zhuo Fan, the Dragon Emperor spoke, which is obvious, with how much of a threat someone stumbling upon the Divine Eye of the Void would become. It's something he will not tolerate. If not for the crisis he was under when the other sovereigns attacked him, he would never make a record of his art to safeguard it. Zhuo Fan shook and closed his eyes, his fists clenched. Dragon Ancestor sighed, Kid, you're the successor of the strongest sovereign. It's your fortune and curse. When Kunpeng pushed you to find Qilin, it was to get you on his side, but in the end it all came down to your greed, wanting that supreme treasure. Now you know the Divine Eye of the Void and that makes you Heavenly Sovereign's target. Your enemy is the strongest in the world that can take your life at any time. And you still want to involve your wife and friends into this danger? And what if I give it up, what if I destroy it? Zhuofan shook and clenched his teeth. Dragon Ancestor shook his head. Kid, do you know what successor means? It's not just the skill, but the path. Divine Eye of the Void is Heavenly Sovereign's greatest skill, containing within is his void path. As you train it, you'll gain insights and blend with the Tao. It seeps into your bones, it fills your soul. It will never leave you for as long as you live. What's the use ruining the skill? Heavenly Sovereign will still find you from your aura. Zhuofan shook all over, feeling regret flooding his heart. His jaw was locked so tight blood flowed. Just why did I train this skill? Kid, it seems you still don't want to give it up. But... Dragon Ancestor continued, if you don't let go, you're killing the others. You don't want them to suffer for your mistakes, but one day they'll die at Heavenly Sovereign's hand. The more you hang on to it, the more it slips away. Let it go and it will come. Isn't it enough to see them safe from afar? Zhuofan's eyes were filled with loss. He had been alone all his first life, but not anymore. But Providence played the biggest joke on him. To stop being alone, he had to walk alone. Ha ha ha, if fate exists, who planned this out for me, toying with me to such extent? Zhuofan showed a self-deprecating smile, one filled with endless sorrow and malcontent at the world. Dragon Ancestor used a sharp talon to pat his shoulder. Hey, kid, don't go losing it over something so small. Heavenly Sovereign is strong, but not invincible. As long you follow my teachings, weak, sacred beasts, will overcome him, and you will overcome this suffering as well. Before that though, don't let trifles bog you down. Always follow my words above all else. As he finished, Zhuofan's body ignited in a golden flame, then the azure flame appeared as well, along with the crackling of purple lightning and Qilint's red glow. 4 of the sacred beast powers came out. Even Dragon Ancestor had to pause. What just happened? Then a pitch-black energy came spread over Zhuofan, sucking in the 4 powers and slowly combining them. This. With wide eyes, Dragon Ancestor shook from disbelief. Crack! With the crack of thunder, black flames exploded, and under decimating Dragon Ancestor's incredulous gaze, Zhuofan's body was covered in black flames with peals of black lightning flashing within. A dreaded power was released, making even the decimating Dragon Ancestor shudder. Is this the form of our combined powers? Standing there, Dragon Ancestor muttered, but our powers come from the primal chaos, with life at its core. So why then do I feel total destruction when I sense this power? Even I'm feeling fear from it. Dragon Ancestor tapped the black flame with his claw. A bang went off and he quickly took his claw back. Looking close, the scales on the claw were erased. This can't be. Gasping, Dragon Ancestor looked at Zhuofan's black flame like it was a monster. Is this what Kunpeng was after? But this is no power to dominate, but to destroy. The black flames shrunk and entered Zhuofan. But when Zhuofan looked at the Dragon Ancestor, he jerked in fright. Zhuofan's eyes were stone cold, containing endless destruction. Especially his left eye, holding the same black flame and black flickers. Dragon Ancestor, what I give up today, I will take it back one day. I'll use this, different from Heavenly Sovereign's, apocalyptic thunder flame eye. Zhuofan's will was firm. Decimating Dragon Ancestor was dumbstruck, only bobbing his huge head, having felt fear like no other. The destruction aura combing off that black thunder flame made him feel pure terror. Chapter 799, Dragon Breath Pill. Chapter 799, Dragon Breath Pill. Proofreader, Papatonks. In the searing space filled with golden flames, there was one spot untouched. Or better yet, the golden flames always went around it from fear. Zhuofan stood in the middle, staring hard at decimating Dragon Ancestor's bulk with sharp eyes. His left eye was pitch black with flashes of black flames and flickering black lightning. while his right eye now sported 6 golden halos. Divine Eye of the Void was in the 6th stage. Decimating Dragon Ancestor looked at this freak and trembled. He felt like he struck a familiar figure, like Heavenly Sovereign. Yet he feared this little kid even more, especially that left eye. Despite only being in this form, the apocalyptic Thunder Flame Eye was made of 4 sacred beast powers. Its level was above the 5 sacred beasts, bearing down on them. Logically, the black eye was on a weak user and that shouldn't work on him. But instinct told him to fear it. He felt slight regret from imparting the decimating golden flame to Zhuofan and leading to the creation of something so abominable. Kunpeng had been thinking of every way possible on how to get his hands on ultimate power, only for a pup to stumble into it. I wonder what face he'll make when he finds out. Dragon Ancestor relaxed at this point. Paw! A sound came from Zhuofan's left eye and he clenched his teeth. Holding his eye, when he took the hand away, the eye was back to normal, with blood seeping from it. What's wrong? Dragon Ancestor asked. Zhuofan shook his head. The immense loss he felt made him think of how to fight Heavenly Sovereign when the time came, where normal methods were useless. Then he recalled the dreaded Thunder Flame, the power that was always out of Kunpeng's reach. His head felt hot and the 4 sacred beast powers came out on an impulse, using demon transformation art to fuse them just like when he fought Yulin. But after he succeeded, he noticed the Thunder Flame was truly abominable. His own body couldn't take the strain. He had no way of keeping it in his body, or it would eat him alive. So he thought of how to dispel it when it came undone by itself. The Thunder Flame was made of powers within himself. As these powers' source was him, it would be coming back, and could ignite from a single spark. It was unlike in the Double Dragon Gathering, where it was only temporarily. Aren't I playing with fire here? Luck had it, he was suddenly thinking of Divine Eye of the Void's art. It emphasized space and emptiness, able to contain everything and nothing. Then he entered Divine Eye of the Void's 6th stage, Void Domain, just like that. In the Void, a space was created, similar to Heavenly Sovereign's new world he wanted to create. He then thought of the apocalyptic Thunder Flame Eye and understood. The Void Domain was inside his left eye and stored the Thunder Flame, turning it into the apocalyptic Thunder Flame Eye. It became clear to him why the Heavenly Sovereign would say that by understanding the Divine Eye of the Void one could train in the Purple Lightning Gold Eye. This was the secret. While he learned the core art, accidents happened. The Thunder Flame Eye rebelled on him, hurting his left eye. Is the Thunder Flame too strong for Void Domain to hold or just unstable? Am I missing the 5th sacred beast power? Is the Thunder Flame Eye incomplete? Decimating Dragon Ancestor's eyes flashed and eased a breath. Thank God the Thunder Flame isn't complete, or the kid would have been more terrible than Heavenly Sovereign. Or we'd have been inviting a worse disaster to deal with the first, one of our own making too. Both were deep in thought, each to his own devices. When the wounded eye recovered, Zhuofan wiped the bloody tears and spoke in a heavy tone, Dragon Ancestor, you said that you have a way. What is it? What can you possibly do when you've been caught so easily? Humph, kid, don't look down on us so much. Dragon Ancestor grumbled, I might have simplified things, but Heavenly Sovereign paid a heavy price to get us deeply wounded. Maybe that's why he's been in hiding all this time after facing the other sovereigns. From how I see it, he should be hovering on the edge. I mean, it's been ages and there's no sight of him in the sacred domain or before us. Doesn't he want his art back? This is the only explanation. Zhuofan's heart shook. This dragon does have a good point. Since he ain't dead yet hasn't recovered, that means he's stuck like that. Maybe he's really that wounded. That's why we must take this chance. Seeing recognition in Zhuofan's eyes, the Dragon Ancestor said, before Heavenly Sovereign comes back, we must break open the mortal domain and get ourselves out, then kill him while he's weak. There hasn't been a better time to take down the strongest man in the world. Dragon Ancestor's eyes flickered. Zhuofan looked up then frowned. The mortal domain isn't something simple as an isolated space made by a barrier, but a world in itself, even if smaller. To break it won't be easy. Without the power of a sovereign. Ha ha ha, don't worry. I already have a plan. Dragon Ancestor laughed confidently. We'll use a recoiling array to attack with extreme power and break its seal on us. Then we, the sacred beasts, can simply walk out of hiding and no one can stop us, ha ha ha. Brow shaking, Zhuofan said, recoil array. That's something I used in a town to deal with a demonic twerp's fog array. It's not hard, but to strike at something the size of mortal domain, it needs something huge and of immense power. The entire mortal domain's power. Dragon Ancestor's eyes flashed. The 5 lands of the mortal domain will each set up a recoil array. Their power will be enough to break it, crushing Heavenly Sovereign's world. What? Zhuofan shook as he cried out, with the entire lands as the basis, setting up a complete recoil array? Just how big would that make it? Aside from the obscene amount of resources needed, the 5 lands are still in conflict with each other. Who'd go along with your plan in setting up some crazy array? You make a fair point. That's the crux of the problem. Dragon Ancestor nodded. Before you become the lord of the mortal domain, setting it up will be impossible. The factions will fight you every step of the way. That's why I believed relying on Yulin alone was impossible. Luckily, there's you. Now that you're stuck with us and have the same enemy, we should be fighting alongside, and unite our efforts. If we, sacred beasts, weren't stuck from coming out, enslaving humanity to set the array would have been easier than coming to you. Zhuofan's face was hard and then he nodded. Whoosh! Dragon Ancestor opened its maw and spewed out tremendous heat. Then, 3 huge glittering golden balls came out. They were just like the golden ball Yulin used when he saved Zhuofan, only thousands of times bigger. The 3 scorching light balls drifted before Zhuofan. Sensing the decimating flames inside, he had to falter a few steps in fear. Dragon Ancestor looked tired after that effort. Kid, you'll have to help us out as we can't do anything to offer direct support. Just take these 3 dragon breath pills and use them to save your life. This. Zhuofan felt the huge light ball's immense power and gulped. With a snicker, Dragon Ancestor held his head high. These dragon breath pills hold the power of one fully powered dragon breath of mine. Not even a sovereign or other sacred beasts will take it head-on. As for the Xing clan in the sacred domain, one of them is enough to wipe them out. But giving you these 3 made me tired and need rest. Since I'm in a prison, there's no one who'd come to take advantage of my weakness. Ha ha ha, despite being trapped, I'm quite safe. Dragon Ancestor. Startled Zhuofan looked conflicted, but then he cupped his hands. Thank you, Dragon Ancestor, for giving me these 3 precious dragon breath pills. But there shouldn't be anyone near that strength. Dragon Ancestor cut him off with a heavy tone. Kid, you're my hope of getting out of here. I'll be sure to grasp it fully. It might be the mortal domain, but it's hard to say you won't be stumbling into something outrageously hard. With this power, we'll break the barrier. But this solution comes with a problem. Because this wind tunnel has created many strange pockets, like this one, while some are good for cultivation, others are deadly. Though there's one common ground to all of them. Whether they're a hellscape or paradise, all are under a strong faction's ownership. So to set a drawing array in them, you not only have to brave their dangers, but also go through any who oppose you. Zhuofan nodded. Since the power supply is settled, the recoil array is feasible. Although. And how am I supposed to find the world wind tunnel with the mortal domain as big as it is? You can't expect me to run around day and night, right? Zhuofan frowned. Dragon Ancestor smiled, his eyes flashing with pride. Easy, when the infernal gorge I am in was drifting across the 5 lands of the mortal domain, despite the constant strikes from berserk purple lightning, I was still able to sense the rough location of where the whirlwind tunnel is. Dragon Ancestor raised his huge claw, touching one sharp talon on Zhuofan's forehead. Hum. A visible ripple shot and Zhuofan could feel warmth on that spot. A crude sketch appeared in his mind, with 8 dubious markings on it. Dragon Ancestor, the sketch ain't much to go by. Who knows where these tunnels even are? Zhuofan's face twitched. Aside from the 8 spots, the surrounding landscape could hardly be distinguished, whether they were mountains, forests, or plains. Dragon Ancestor reddened and snorted, I've been stuck all this time in the infernal gorge while under constant attack, unable to see the outside world. The fact I got their positions is already a blessing, yet you still nag? Anyway, once you go there, you'll definitely find some secret pocket realm, the place where the whirlwind tunnel resides. Zhuofan nodded and sighed. Hey, kid, you're 9 Serenity's successor, don't tell me now I also have to teach you a drawing array. No, I know how to set it up. Zhuofan sighed longer, let me out. I'll get right on it and get you back to Sacred Domain. That includes you as well. Dragon Ancestor smiled, don't ever forget, we're on the same boat. Zhuofan nodded. Dragon Ancestor grinned and swiped his claw, making a tunnel in space for Zhuofan to pass. Wait. What is it now? Frowning, the Dragon Ancestor asked, for case of minor matters, I'll have Yilin assist you. Zhuofan shook his head and waved. Chower came out with a flash in this infernal place. Only this time, Chower was still unconscious and fading. Dragon Ancestor started, this. My daughter. Zhuofan spoke firmly, she has remained in this critical state ever since she took on Yilin's heavy blow. No matter what I tried, nothing could help her. I hope Dragon Ancestor has better chances. Sizing Chower up, the Dragon Ancestor cried out, this spiritual beast's source of power is the berserk purple lightning. Is it the same as Thunder Phoenix's? And that old Koot Kunpeng opened her mind? Yes, Chower was born from purple lightning. Ha ha ha, I see. Heaven truly helps us, sacred beasts. There's now 30% higher chances we can fight Heavenly Sovereign. Zhuofan did not finish as the dragon burst out laughing. Kid, I don't know how you made this miracle happen. Any common sense has within them powers of life and destruction. When hurt, the life energy would recover. But she is different, she hasn't recovered because she lacks such energy. She's imbalanced. Pills will do for minor scratches, but the decimating golden flame's damage is no small matter. With her heavy injury and having no life energy in her, any kind of pill won't work. Zhuofan pondered, yes, I had used her to absorb purple lightning through her. Demon transformation art is no healing art. At that time, the power she absorbed, whether the demon transformation art's demonic energy, or berserk purple lightning's brutal force, all are elements of destruction, with no life in them. How else would such a pure seed of purple lightning germinate in her? How else would she become the next generation of Thunder Phoenix? Thunder Phoenix? Zhuofan was shocked, Dragon Ancestor, what are you saying? That the 5 great sacred beasts will once again gather. At that time, Heavenly Sovereign will have no chance of getting away, ha ha ha. Dragon Ancestor spewed golden flame on Chower, I shall help you open your mind once more, so you'll transform into a true sacred beast. Chapter 801, Journeying Once More. Chapter 801, Journeying Once More. Proofreader, Papatonks. SSS. The scorching golden flames singed Chower's frail body, leaving the impression it snuffed out the final trace of life she had left. Zhuofan looked on with worry. Dragon Ancestor consoled him, fire is a source of life. Be it my fierce flame, decimating golden flame, or Kunpeng's gentle flame, chaos flame. Only gentle flame is good for alchemy and the soul, while the fierce flame is for refining weapons and the body. Letting the golden flame enter her body won't just remake her body, but open her mind further, setting her on the path of a real sacred beast. Further? Precisely. Dragon Ancestor said, "Fire is the source of life and knowledge." Kunpeng's azure flame helped open her first mind, to speak and cultivate, to overcome the shackles of a spiritual beast as it grows stronger and stronger. My golden flames take it a step further, giving her the body of a sacred beast capable of transformation, what a true sacred beast can do. Zhuo Fan shook. Does that mean all spiritual beasts can become sacred beasts? Hardly, or the world would be in chaos. Ha ha ha, you best remember that the number of experts are limited. Dragon Ancestor looked at Shower. Your daughter is special because she is like us at core, born from the strongest power of this world, with berserk purple lightning taking hold within her. That's why, our two flames that resonate with her body will help her develop her mind and spirituality. If it were a common spiritual beast, it could only take one flame. By using both of them though, it would lead to them clashing inside and exploding. Zhuo Fan nodded, recalling the three-headed crow at Kunpeng's side. His aide had received Kunpeng's azure flame but would never become a sacred beast. Because at core, its body did not have any of the 5 powers. Zhuo Fan could not help but smile at Dragon Ancestor. What about me? Don't I have both of your flames? A freak 9 serenities sovereign created? Beat it. Dragon Ancestor's face twitched and grumbled. Zhuo Fan's weird constitution made him jealous actually. Who wouldn't want a body that could hold 4 of sacred beast powers and fuse them into an unheard of power? Even he had to admit it. Zhuo Fan smiled, looking smug. Everything was connected, that was the core belief behind demon transformation art. Everything could be transformed for the user's use. It was truly obscene. Sacred beasts can't train in human cultivation methods or he'd long have stolen it. Kunpeng especially, if he knew demon transformation art was the way to combine sacred beast powers, he'd have acted on the spot. Zhuo Fan was startled awake and watched Shower being covered by azure flames with the searing golden flames on top. Azure flame and golden flame overlapped and combined, forming a savage tornado, lifting Shower up in the air. Zhuo Fan was baffled while Dragon Ancestor was calmer than ever. Boom! After the explosion, purple lightning burst forth, erasing the fire tornado. What followed was a flood of lightning everywhere, surrounding an 8-year-old girl with long purple hair and a purple robe. She was the most adorable creature, with her pink cheeks, bright eyes and white teeth. Zhuo Fan was startled. Dragon Ancestor laughed, ha ha ha, the transformation is complete. With some training, this child will be the next Thunder Phoenix. Adding Qilan's son as well, the 5 great sacred beasts will once more gather. Dragon Ancestor, is she my daughter? Of course, father. Zhuo Fan blinked dumbstruck. The girl floated down, as the purple lightning crackled around. She bore a bright smile as she skipped over to Zhuo Fan and jumped into his arms. Of course I'm your daughter. Can't you recognize me? Of course not. Zhuo Fan's eyelid twitched, hugging the little girl. Seeing the familiar expression in her eyes, he was feeling overwhelmed. If I could choose, a thunder skylark would be better. Chao asked, why? Now that I took human form, I'm really your daughter. Ha ha ha, you won't understand. Zhuo Fan turned solemn. With the way you are now, that means you've become a sacred beast, taking on Thunder Phoenix's mantle. That means you'll become a target for Heavenly Sovereign. Then, you might even die. Blinking her big eyes, Chao was confused. Who's that? Father, if you didn't want for me to transform, why let me? I had no choice. Sighing, Zhuo Fan glanced at Dragon Ancestor. It wasn't my decision to make. Smiling, the Dragon Ancestor nodded. Yes, I'd have it even if you refused. We need strength right now. Only with all 5 great sacred beasts will we have the greatest power. Alone, we're no match for Heavenly Sovereign. Zhuo Fan knew this, but was still conflicted. Leave the 2nd generation in my care for now. I'll make sure to unearth all her potential. Dragon Ancestor continued, his tone was irreproachable. Zhuo Fan nodded, but Chao wouldn't have it, hugging his neck and whining, no, I want to go with father. No matter how amazing this kid is, he's just a human and has no idea of the true might of the glorious Thunder Phoenix. However, the dragon ancestor's tone was firm. Your mind might be sharp right now and can even understand Berserk Purple Lightning's usage, but that's too slow. By training with me, you'll soon know all of Thunder Phoenix's skills. You'll go home with him later on, but now you must stay with me, to make sure you don't stray. Zhuofan acknowledged this as well. Yes, since you're meant to enter this storm, the best way is for you to get stronger. I can't teach you. Staying with Dragon Ancestor is better. Zhuofan placed Chao down, then turned around without hesitation. Dragon Ancestor, open the door and let me out. Sure. Dragon Ancestor clawed and a tunnel formed to the beautiful world outside. Kid, you're a man of ambition, knowing what must be done and not hesitating. Father. Seeing him go, Chao's voice trembled. I've never left your side since I was born. Zhuofan halted, struck by a pang of guilt, but he settled his heart, leaving without looking back. He knew from the moment Dragon Ancestor saw Chao that he would want her to improve and make this simple Thunder Skylark enter the deadliest battle. As her father, Zhuofan had to do the best he could to give her the highest chance at survival. Father. As the door faded, Chao cried out after him, with tears of abandonment flowing down her cheeks. But Zhuofan not once looked back till the end. Pa! When the door closed, Chao's cries were cut off and Zhuofan sighed. His eyes closed to regain his calm, then walked forward with purpose. Heavenly Sovereign, the greatest threat was bearing down on him. No one could help him and he couldn't help anyone either. All he could do was give his all to not get those he cared dragged down into this. The rest of his life was bound to be filled with solitude. He could only use, the 5 great sacred beasts, stuck with the same misfortune. Whoosh! Zhuofan barely took a step and Yilin appeared, looking hesitant. Zhuofan simply brushed his shoulder as he walked on with a cold look. Hold on. Yilin finally spoke. Halting, Zhuofan asked, what? Master must have told you about everything. Yilin scratched his head. Our goal is the same. To help Master, we'll have to cooperate. As for the 8 world wind tunnels, I've already placed the drawing array in this secret realm. The others will be harder, even the ones in Western lands. We are, after all, disciples in the Western lands. Are you done? I'm leaving. Zhuofan spoke coldly. Yilin started. Wait, Master asked that we set the recoil array together. I don't need you. Zhuofan cut him off. You just stay being a Western lands disciple. I can do it on my own. Also, you saved my life and I'll definitely repay you. Shaking all over, Yilin watched Zhuofan go. He set his jaw and shouted, brother. Startled, Zhuofan finally paused his step, looking at him oddly. What did you call me? Elder brother. Yilin hesitated with a lowered head. Sacred beasts have rules, making the winner king. Since I lost to you, you're the elder brother. Zhuofan turned around and resumed leaving. That is a beast's rule, we are men. Anyway, I'll return the favor for what you did. There's nothing else between us. Elder brother, it doesn't matter. Since I lost, I see you as king. Zhuofan never stopped walking. Also, senior brother sent a jade slip. Miss Chu is fine. They all think you're dead. Double Dragon Manor is rushing me to come back and report. Elder brother, come with me, or would you like me to send her a message? Trembling, Zhuofan stopped again, then left faster. No, just say. I'm dead. Chapter 802, Chuanrong Capital. Chapter 802, Chuanrong Capital. Proofreader, Papatonks. Come get your furs. The finest 4th level spiritual beast furs you can find. Iron, black iron, anything you need to make the sharpest spiritual weapons. Get your herbs right here. For miracle third-grade cures. The market was packed with peddlers shouting out their wares. They got swallowed in the tide of noisy people coming and going, haggling and bickering, always fighting for a profit. Among this sea of people, one lone figure seemed to drift through it, his black cloak fluttering in the wind. When he looked up, his cold face contrasted with the bustling scene. Looking around, he found people with long noses, big eyes, and foreign faces unlike anyone he saw in Tianyu. Zhuo Fan lowered his head again and milled through the crowd and out of here. Down here, in the capital of Chuanrong Empire, he was the foreigner. Like a nimble cat, Zhuo Fan's trace was gone without anyone taking notice. Zhuo Fan took a deep breath and floated through the bustling street like a ghost. Ever since he left Ultimate Clarity sect, Zhuo Fan knew the danger he was in, fated to go in this world alone. But after giving it some thought, he still could not help but want to see them again. Elder Yuan, Luo clan, and... never mind Qingqing. He feared he'd never leave if he saw her. This was a kind of silent goodbye. He would be facing Heavenly Sovereign by himself. It was so convenient there was a whirlwind tunnel from Dragon Ancestor's sketch on his way. Since he was passing through, might as well leave a drawing array behind. But the Dragon Ancestor's map was a dubious sketch, a true amateur painter. He might as well know only the 8 locations of the tunnels, and that was pretty much it. At least he knew the rough location, with nothing to go on as to its exact spot. Best keep an ear out while I'm here. Zhuo Fan halted his steps with a grin. Next to him was a rowdy restaurant. When it came to listening, this place was the best location. With whirlwind tunnels gathered spiritual energy, it's bound to cause some strange occurrences that people can't miss. A native is sure to know more. Zhuo Fan looked up as he walked up to it, finding that it was made up of 8 3-meter big rocks. Chuanrong are so crude, even their culture shows it. From the gate to their homes, nothing here inspires grandeur. Taking the capital's gate for instance, it was twice as tall as that of Tianyu, but not as polished. The capital of Tianyu was a work of art, filled with beauty and refinement. Every corner was thought out, every nook and cranny used. While the Chuanrong capital only looked huge. Size was good, sure, but the rocks used in the buildings were uneven, as if made up at random. Maybe this was how their culture, one based on power and disregarding the details. As they associated themselves with spiritual beasts every day of the week for years and years, their belief in power would only be strengthened. There was a low chance for any sage like the 3 in Tianyu to appear. But this is also why the Chuanrong stand united while Tianyu is filled of bickering fools weakening the empire. This aspect alone would paint the barren Chuanrong nation as stronger than Tianyu. Heaven really is amazing to create such wonderful discrepancies, weak yet strong, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan smiled as he walked in. The waiter spotted him and waved, "Will you be dining or staying? We have a quiet room, but it's a bit on the expensive side." "No need, I'll stay in the hall." Zhuo Fan shook his head and took a random seat at a table. The waiter lowered his head and saw that the cloak hid Zhuo Fan's features. "Guest, you're a foreigner." "Yeah. Then where do you?" Zhuo Fan eyed him. "What, do I have to explain myself to stay here?" "No, it's just that there are hostilities recently and foreigners have to report." The waiter was put on the spot. Sighing, Zhuo Fan ignored him. He didn't give much thought to a lower 3 sect protecting some third-rate empire. Ever since the dragon ancestor used the golden flame to remake his body, his cultivation reached the 8th layer of radiant stage. As for his power, it grew exponentially, not limited to the draconic form Yi Lin had, tough and filled with decimating golden flame, but also wielding the apocalyptic thunderflame eye. Chapter 803, Asking Around. Chapter 803, Asking Around. Proofreader, Papatonks. The silence was deafening. Everyone here looked at each other, then at Zhuo Fan with a dumb look, though neither budged an inch. The waiter was sweating now, shaking like a leaf next to Zhuofan and on the verge of tears. What's wrong with me? The least I could do was check his level before I let anger take me. Only now he saw that his bone-tempering cultivation wasn't enough to see through him. This was an obvious sign the other's level was way higher. The people in the restaurant sized Zhuofan up, then lamented their fates. We can't tell anything. We can't even touch him as we are. They all stood stiff in the same spot, while Zhuofan snickered, what's the hold-up? Didn't you want to kill me? No, no, no. Everyone shook their heads. Passers-by like them would never reach his level. They'd just be mowed down if they attacked now. Zhuofan shook his head. I was wondering why the Chuanrong Emperor would be so impulsive as to step into Tianyu's unrest. Now I see Chuanrong are all brawn, attacking before even looking. It might sound like bravery, even heroism, but it's just a fancy way of calling someone an idiot. Before you start attacking, you should start flexing that thing you have for a head. Well, I guess you lost those hundreds of miles fair and square, ha ha ha. Zhuofan's mockery made everyone's faces turn red. Zhuofan started off with defending himself, but now he was openly disregarding their emperor and their entire people. It made the Chuanrong so angry and filled with hatred. Though not enough to attack, not when Zhuofan had the biggest fist around. Seeing them all so tense, Zhuofan smiled, though no longer toyed with them, since he had no intention of quarreling with the common folk. Since you guys won't do nothing, I'll attack? The waiter shouted, scared to death. A radiant stage cultivator could kill them with a thought. They'd be slaughtered. The others panicked and fell to their knees, begging for their lives. Rolling his eyes, Zhuofan huffed, who'd kill you? You're not even worth it. I was gonna say that since you won't start anything, I'll ask some questions and then you can just scram. Oh, just questions. Who the hell jumped the gun and said he'll attack? They relaxed at once, but then, they recalled their panic and shameful act, looking for the instigator. Shit, that scared me to death. All eyes glared at the waiter. He lowered his head with resentment. Can you blame me? How would I know this guy is against the norms? Shouldn't it be if we don't attack, he will? Ignoring their reproaching looks, Zhuofan said, waiter, I'll ask you first. What were those fights you were talking about? With who? You don't know. The waiter was stunned. Zhuofan rolled his eyes and cursed, why else am I asking you? Yeah, Senior asked you a question and you're quibbling? Hurry up and answer before Senior gets impatient. Waiter, cut the crap and answer. Everyone in the restaurant began to curse at him and make him feel glum. Damn these fools, switching sides at the drop of a hat. They were patriots a second ago alongside me, now they're this Tianyu guy's loyal dogs. Since you can't mess with a radiant stage cultivator, you take it out on a waiter? Zhuofan frowned and glared at them to quiet down. The waiter bowed, sir, we're at war with Tianyu. Since you're from Tianyu, I thought you knew. They're fighting again. Why? For how long? Around a month. The rumor is His Majesty received the full support from the Guardian sect, vowing to get our land back. The waiter sighed, and His Majesty wanted to make up for his mistake 8 years ago, so there's been a martial law in place at the borders, to prevent any Tianyu spies from coming in. That's why when Sir. The patriotic waiter forgot who he was talking to, forgetting he was giving a strong guy from Tianyu a report. So he sewed his mouth shut. Something had to be wrong with his head, to talk when he was aware of the situation. He may be. Don't worry, I'm no spy. Zhuofan smiled, have you ever seen a spy exposing himself like me? Besides, it's common knowledge what you told me so far. I've been away from Tianyu for so many years and want to return. I couldn't know these things. The waiter sighed, relieved. I haven't sold my country. Zhuofan pondered carefully, there's a serious problem here. I saw the Luo clan's power and Chuanrong didn't have the strength to invade Tianyu. Also, beast taming sect is offering full support. Humph, it is only one sect while the other has 3 helping it. Unless something fishy is going on here. Did the higher powers reach some debased deal? What are you talking about, sir? The waiter asked, puzzled. Zhuo Fan waved his hand. Nothing, it doesn't involve you anyway. Chuanrong won't win in any case. There's still something I want to know. Ha, do you guys have some wonderful scenery around, of immense beauty? Scenery? The waiter was stumped, the people puzzled. He shook his head. Sir, Chuanrong isn't like Tianyu, with rich lands and great sceneries. We're barren, so where can there be such a place here? If you want to enjoy some places, you're better off going to Tianyu. They have far better sceneries. Then what about harsh mountains? Which is the most treacherous area, the place where livestock vanishes the most? Zhuo Fan squinted. Where the wind tunnel gathered spiritual energy, it did not mean paradise would always form. It might not be unlike the local areas, making it truly a danger zone. The waiter was still looking lost. Sir, where have you heard this? We're barren, but not in hell, with a poisoned land. Wouldn't we have died off by now? Frowning, Zhuo Fan pondered. Were the dragon's senses out of whack when he made the sketch? There's no sign of the wind tunnel here. That would mean all the other spots were wrong as well. How am I supposed to find 8 wind tunnels on these huge lands? Zhuo Fan was worried. The waiter and the rest did not make a peep, afraid he would kill them. Everyone waited there for his words. Where's the owner? In this tense mood, heads turned as loud footsteps were heard coming into the locale. 2 built men in lavish clothes walked forward, their strong physique clearly making them out to be at peak profound heaven stage. The 6th prince has booked this place. All of you are to leave. The 2 tough guys stuck out their chests, looking smug and cocky. Though they did not see the panic that unusually followed. In fact, the people were making shushing gestures in a rush. What's going on here? Are you all deaf? The 6th prince booked this place. Get out now. The 2 barked once more and the people looked at the 2 tough men, trying to hint at them. See him? He can't be offended, so keep it down. Don't disturb him or we'll all get it. However, the 2 muscles did not get to shout again as Zhuo Fan's cold tone echoed, who are the crazed dogs barking in my ear? Chapter 804, Number 1 Fan. Chapter 804, Number 1 Fan. Proofreader, Papatonks. How dare you? The 2 got so used to having their way, they began shouting at Zhuo Fan's complaint. Who are you to disturb the 6th prince? Boom! Their tirade was cut short by an explosion. They exploded in a mist of blood while Zhuo Fan lowered his punch, lamenting. Where am I supposed to go from here? The sketch is a bust. The people in the restaurant paled, with some even slumping on the floor. Just one punch from an 8th-layer radiant stage expert and 2 peak profound heaven cultivators were dead without even a corpse left behind. They died before even knowing what was coming. This guy is brutal, not holding back at all. Those 2 were the prince's men. The fear in everyone only grew as they looked at Zhuo Fan, shivering in their spots. Hua Lair, Hua Lasha, are you done? The prince is about to arrive. An aged voice sounded from a man with a white beard. Seeing the blood around, he shouted, What's with all this blood? Haven't I told you brats not to kill? How can you feast when there's blood around? Cleaning it up is such a pain too. The people glanced at the old guy but remained silent. He must think the blood comes from us. If only he knew they were his own 2 men. The old man walked inside as he shouted, Hua Lair, Hua Lasha, get out here right no dash, ugh. The old man bore a weird look. Why are there so many people around? 6th prince is about to arrive. The others gave him a pitiful look, then waited for Zhuo Fan to make his move. What's a prince against an 8th-layer radiant stage cultivator? If we take a single step without his permission, we might just end up like those two. Zhuo Fan was frowning and pondering what to do. The sketch lost its value and he was now stuck. He was so distracted, he did not notice the eerie mood in the restaurant. Sir. The old man wasn't as impulsive as the late two. Noticing where all eyes were looking, he grew stiff as he sized Zhuo Fan up. Oh crap, an 8th layer radiant stage expert. He was only in the 4th layer and the prince's household had no such expert either. That was the reason behind his bow and address. Zhuo Fan was still vexed with his problem to pay him any mind. The old man turned to the waiter, "Who is this, sir?" The waiter shook his head. The old man looked around and got the same answer from the rest. Sighing, the old man asked, "Where are the two tough men that came in?" "You're stepping on them." The waiter pointed at the blood. The old man shook and looked at all the red on the floor, then at the stumped Zhuo Fan in realization. The two's brash attitudes must have irked this man and they ended up like this. This was bad. Messing with such a strong expert was anything but good. I have to settle it now. But he shows complete disregard to me, who is 4 layers beneath him. Since there's nothing I can do, I'll get help. The old man tiptoed 2 steps back, then ran like hell. The people were stunned. And you call yourself a man in 6th Prince's service? Mere thugs that scare the weak ones and flee from anyone strong. Only Zhuo Fan was still lost in his thoughts, not registering this event. Whoosh! 4 powerful energies came into the restaurant moments later and forced the guests to falter back. 4 elders enter, with one of them being the same guy from before. But the leader was a blonde man with sharp eyes and far stronger. The people in the restaurant knew then and there that this guy was a true expert. Many who met his eyes felt dizzy and in shock. With these 4 so powerful, are they planning to take on the Tianyu expert? That will mean a brutal battle. Won't that end with us as collateral? The people were restless now, praying to anyone out there not to get dragged into this mess. It was beyond their expectations when they saw the blonde elder bowing before Zhuo Fan. "I am High Venerable Jin Buhuan of the 6th Prince from Chuanrong Empire. I ask that you overlook the rude attitude of my men. Get lost." Seeing as the strongest, Jin Buhuan was only 1 layer lower than him, Zhuo Fan couldn't care less. Stunned, Jin Buhuan felt awkward, then his mood sank. He might be slightly weaker, but to get no respect at all. He had more men as well. If a fight broke out, it might even go in their favor. The white-bearded old man knew this and shouted, "Sir, we respect you as fellow Radiant Stage cultivators and don't wish to fight. We are even willing to overlook killing our men, but even with your 8th layer Radiant Stage cultivation, among the best in Chuanrong, it still won't be enough against numbers. Getting on the imperial family's bad side is ill-advised. I urge you to rethink and let's work this out as friends." Jin Buhuan smiled and nodded at his approach. Neither humble nor confrontational, with words said with respect and reason. That should do it. Too bad they weren't dealing with your average Radiant Stage expert. Even a rotten bastard would listen, but not Zhuo Fan, who was loftier than the loftiest freak. All bark and no bite. Zhuo Fan mocked, "You old coots yap for so long because your teeth must be dulled, ha ha ha." Jin Buhuan's face twitched and grew red. He clenched his fists in rage. "Damn punk, we're clearly being nice and you spit on our faces." Zhuo Fan smirked at them. He was annoyed the sketch was a bust and needed a good punching bag to feel better. It just so happened a few poor devils came right at his door. Jin Buhuan glared, "Sir, I don't care who or how strong you are, but you're over the line. I will not take this lying down." Jin Buhuan exploded with power and bloodthirst as he charged at Zhuo Fan. The other 3 elders were right behind him. The oppressive power shook the entire restaurant. The people were pushed back under such pressure, while Zhuo Fan just smiled. He was looking at 4 clowns doing their act. Zhuo Fan mocking gaze enraged Jin Buhuan. He shouted and was about to strike. Stop! Ugh! Halting all of a sudden, Jean Buhuan looked back and bowed. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow and saw a fashionable youth walking over. He must be their lord, that sixth prince. Ignoring the elders, the prince looked at Zhuo Fan in shock. His steps were shaky, his lips trembling. You're... Yes, I'm the one that killed your 2 dogs. Now 4 more dogs came to bite me, so you should be coming in only after this is done. There's no need for any blustering either, being more than familiar with this play. Wait till I kill them. If you still want to die, I don't mind sending you off as well. Zhuo Fan waved him off like he was a beggar. The elders were furious and wanted to rip Zhuo Fan to pieces. But the youth was dancing in joy. Why, you're Zhuo Fan? How are you still alive? I'm your biggest fan. Ha. Zhuo Fan was perplexed, to say the least. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.